friends from Tanzania, they say Satan's Ania, because we in this part of the world love to say Tanzania or some other version of it. But Sister Karida should be joining us on Zoom. So to the Honorable Priest Lamont, I'm not seeing them, so you tell me if they're on. And we're going to go straight to them to talk a little bit about the work that is being done, the Rastafari Act, constitutional and law rights, 60 years after. That is the discussion we're going to be having in this segment of the program. Once again, just to remind you that in April 1966, the Imperial Majesty, the Emperor Haile Selassie I, actually touched
just like a Zoom
Jamaica.
Link. It's in the group that says Cabo Diamond.
Sister Karida, we're hearing you loud and clear. So Sister Karida is online. We're seeing that she's there. Also, I think Honorable Priest Lamont should also be online. While we sort it out, if you wish, Peter, we could, or you could give me the background for those who are on YouTube and so on of the visit of the Majesty without audio. But in the meantime, we're standing by to speak with Sister Karida and Priest Lamont. Sister Karida, are you hearing me?
Good morning, Sister
Brilliant. Dr. Karida MacDonald, RMO Communication, PRO Officer, and former Senior Advisor for UNICEF, Jamaica, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Honorable Priest Lamont, you're there, my brother?
Blessed greetings, Sister Kabir, I'm here.
Greetings, Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I'm not seeing you. I don't know if you're seeing me, but we're hearing you, and we are radio after all, so that we'll continue with the discussion. The brethren who are scheduled for in studio are not here yet, but once they get in, they'll join the conversation. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Karida MacDonald, because we're looking in this segment at Rastafari Act, constitutional and law rights. But before we get to that, of course, this segment of the program is focusing on also the work that the RMO is doing in this regard. So remind our listeners about what the RMO is and the work that you have done so far and what you're looking at completing now or achieving, if you will.
Yes, give thanks, Sister Cabo. So the RMO is an umbrella organization of 14 mansions and organizations of Rastafari. It's 3 years in the making. There's a signed constitution, which makes this an important milestone for the Rastafari community in Jamaica. And it has really been taking on the mission of and heeding to the call of His Majesty to organize and centralize. And that is a very significant effort at this juncture for the Diamond Jubilee. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of the theme even of the Diamond Jubilee commemoration, about organize and centralize. And in that sense, much of the works around advocacy have come into play more centrally in this public discussion about legislation, which is important when we're talking about reparatory justice, when we're talking about protection of rights, which at the end of the day, it is about trying to move on with development and advancement and upliftment. But, a great deal of time of the community is spent trying to address cases of discrimination, of harassment, and therefore it really takes away from the focus on economic development. And of course there is much that needs to be attended to in terms of reparatory justice.
And Honorable Priest Lamont, the discussion, of course, kind of crescendoed again, because from time to time we get back to this space. I know that the ongoing work by the RMO has been intense over the last few years, but that we saw a spike in this conversation about Rastafari rights, about constitutional and law rights, if you will. and especially against the backdrop of what has happened in St. Kitts, Nevis. Tell us about that, what you saw happening in St. Kitts, and why do you think that this is once again stoking the conversation here in Jamaica?
All right, thanks much, Sister Kamu. When we look at what's happening in St. Kitts, we realize that there are entrenched laws in their Rastafari sacramental rights, where we have seen that in Jamaica for more than 10 years now, we still have not seen any great inclusion for Rastafari, for economic development, for reparatory justice. While we see in St. Kitts, they have made provision for tax relief, for access to licensing. Let's say if a Rastafari was to seek a license for a cannabis license, we have no special access or approach. There is no tax relief, and there is no set system to allow us as Rastafari to access these things, particularly in the area of reparatory justice, to show any kind of recognition for the kind of atrocities that we have faced, the discrimination that we have faced. And in St. Kitts, that government has looked at those things, the quantity, the long-standing discrimination that Rastafari have received, and they have made provision in their legal system for reparatory justice to be served to the Rastafari community. And we would hope for that in Jamaica, that the Jamaica government, being the cradle of the Rastafari culture, the praise and worship of Rastafari, we would expect that the Jamaica government would be leading the charge in making ingrained legal settings where the police would be given a specific mandate on how to treat Rastafari according to the sacramental rights. We are still seeing great harassment on the streets as you move with your sacrament. Police at their own will can determine. And I have been harassed for half a pound of sacrament, and they are telling me that I am not supposed to have more than 2 ounces. And it's strange to me that the police will know that there is a 2-ounce limit, and that relates to ordinary Jamaican citizens over 18 years old, but they have never heard that there is an exemption from some of these regulations for Rastafari, or they have totally ignored it because they might not have been taught about it, or might not have been encouraged to respect our rights of sacrament as we move through. So we are really seeing a lot of discrimination, even though there is the 2015 Drug Amendment Act. Whilst in other countries, in St. Kitts, even in Antigua, they have given recognition to participate in business. They have given tax reliefs. There are so many things that we need to happen because we have been left at a disadvantage. Our economic system is ravished because we are not allowed to use our sacrament in any way developmental, which we have been known to use our sacrament to advance our levity, not just smoking or drinking, but it is the mean by which we have economically sustained ourselves over the last 30, 40 years. And we would hope that the government, knowing these things, would be more morally, active in allowing us to continue our life, send our children to school, because we are marginalized in the workplace. We are marginalized everywhere. It's not easy for us to get the Rastafari to get a job
just hang on for me, priest. We're joined by, is this Ras First Man? Greetings, my brother. He's actually joining us on Zoom.
Blessed love. I hope you are hearing me.
I was looking forward to seeing you in the studio this morning, my brother. Here you are on Zoom.
Same here.
All right, but good to have you. As we kind of flesh out this conversation, the Let me take a quick break. Sorry. Let me take a quick break and I come back with much more. We're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African. And we're in the context of 60 years. We're good. 60 years after the visit of the Majesty, the Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I to Jamaica. Where do we go from here? In this segment, where do we go from here? Rastafari Act, constitutional and law rights after 60 years. Dr. Kerida MacDonald, Honorable Priest Lamont, and our brother Ras First Man on Zoom with us this morning. Let me just bring you in, Ras First Man, as you're coming in, because I was just talking to Priest Lamont about what has happened in St. Kitts Nevis and why that is once again causing this kind of conversation, a peak in the conversation, because it's an ongoing process for the Rastafari community, but in terms of how it is seeping into the public sphere over the last few weeks. We're hearing from Minister Grange, we have heard from Attorney Bert Samuels. Last week we had in studio human rights attorney Natisia Bohad Singh, and she read from a document, a press release from the RMO, which pointed to the fact that the response of Jamaica to the decisions and what is being entrenched in law now in St. Kitts Nevis in terms of Rastafari rights being entrenched in the Constitution. We heard through that press release from the RMO that the minister's response and what she said about that being Jamaica being the first to do that is false. I want you to comment on that for us, because I listened to Priest Lamont, and obviously, yeah, that is so. And I know, because we've been standing in this space for a very long time, that is more nuanced than that. But your immediate perspective on that, my brother.
If you would allow me to first say greetings in the mighty name of the Most High Emperor Haile King Selassie I, who 60 years ago touched this ground, and to really give thanks for my elders, my ancestors, matriarchs and patriarchs who have really walked a path of investigation when we were told that, everything about us as African people, whether we were enslaved and from an uncivilized space. We really want to recognize the mothers who were the succession plan. They were the ones who really, natty up them children here and wrap it up and send them into a really colonial system imposed on us by our own people, using our own people as tools. But they stood up for that identity crisis and really doing it from that time until now. I really want to take a time out to also say to, what you have been doing, Sister Kabu, keeping this African consciousness alive is also equal to the task of Rastafari and about rights, and it has been a rights issue. Taking the steps of our father, Emperor Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen, right, to defend the rights of Ethiopia against these Italians, and then for us to see that and be inspired by that, and for Leonard P. Howell and Dunkley and all of these other ones, that stood in that space in that time. We really want to take this moment to recognize our ancestors who have gone behind us, those who are before us, those who stand to our right and to our left in this moment. Yes. As it relates to what Minister Grange is putting forward, this is an ongoing journey. RMO is the continuing journey of our ancestors to follow the mandate that was given to us by Emperor Haile Selassie I to organize and centralize. And we have been doing that through RCO, RMC, and all of this journey to come to a conversation. And within that period of time, I think the JLP has been in power almost looking to break the record of the PNP. I'm not so political, but I know they are coming up in years on it. So we have been having conversation with Honorable Bobsy Grange for a very, very long time. And she has been responsive. And when we asked for a legislative move at one point in time, she had made mention about developing a secretariat that was going through Parliament. And to me, that was like one of the structures that we were looking for. And, that sort of died by the way, people using conversation about separatism in community and so on, which is normal when you're talking about indigenous community. You really have to deal with what is in front of you. And I think the government has sort of used the fact that the community may have some separation to stand in the way of, trying to make things work. And then the way how they do it, it's more like a tokenism and a more approach towards the individual. So if you even look at how the amendment to the Dangerous Drug Act is framed, it is that the minister may, and it's like up to the discretion of the minister.
Because when they say may in these situations, may is really a cop out to say that I can do what I can do, and because I have the leverage to do what I want to do. That's really what may means in Parliament. What the minister may do or may not do. So the point you're making is that even though these discussions seem to be ongoing in Parliament, it really isn't. It's not couched in the language of success or of a bill passing. No. The idea is the way this is couched, this is going to end right here, or the conversation is going to continue, the discussion, because if you go to Parliament more time and participate in those conversations or watch them, it's phenomenal the kind of obfuscation that you get. So that basically the challenge then is what? Because if these conversations you see have been going on with both political parties over many moons, but as far as where St. Kitts is, regardless of what the minister has said, Jamaica has not gone there. Jamaica is not there. This is what you're saying.
Jamaica is still personal. It's still personal and not an entrenched legislative approach. And that is the issue that we're having.
What do you mean by personal?
So, in other words, as I say, Honorable Mark Golden himself would admit that it's really the Obama administration and legalization of states which made the brave move to try and, do something with ganja here in Jamaica, the land of ganja. But Rastafari was an add-on. It was an add-on, not carefully thought out. It was an ad hoc kind of thing. And then everybody, it's up to whether or not the minister themselves want to do something. It's whether, so it's not something that is entrenched across the political landscape. It's really something now that is really up to the minister. And it's very egotistic. It's like, okay, I made the decision to do that. And it's, almost like a campaign trail build-up conversation. And there's none of them that can really deny that.
Yeah.
It's a very, very personal aggrandizement of their mission and what they're doing and, self-praise kind of thing. If they want it to be best, it has to be entrenched. It has to be something that is legislative, and it has to be something that is enforced. It's just Monday gone of this week, ancient Rastaman in St. Elizabeth out of earthquake camp, and earthquake, right? And these people have been locked up for 32 pounds of ganja, and we have to constantly be in the court fighting against this. Give thanks to Brother Marcus Goff, unrelentlessly fighting, yes, with some success, but the nuance and the annoyance. So for Honorable Babsy Grange to really say what she has said, it's really uninformed, and it's really like defending the paperwork and not the reality.
All right, let's take another quick break. When we come back, we continue the conversation with Ras Firstman from the Rastafari Indigenous Village and one of the three co-chairs of the RMO, with Honorable Priest Lamont, Ethiopia Black International Congress, Bobo Ashanti, and Dr. Kirita MacDonald, RMO Communication PR Officer and former senior advisor for UNICEF, Jamaica, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. A quick break, and we'll be right back with much more inside of the Africa Forum. Thank you so much for joining us.
Get the best rates for foreign exchange at VM. Buy currency online or any VMBS and VM Money Express location. More value, more convenience. The time by VM Group is
Now, 7 o'clock, you're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African. 60 years ago, His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie I came to Jamaica, set foot on the soil of Jamaica. It was a Caribbean tour, and we're looking back to go forward, reflecting 60 years after the visit. On Zoom, Dr. Karida MacDonald, Honorable Priest Lamont, and Ras First Man. Where do we go from here? Rastafari Act, Constitutional Law and Rights, Constitutional Law Rights, 60 years. Dr. Karida, let me come back to you quickly, because the RMO statement that was read here in the studio last week by Attorney Natisia Bohard Singh definitively stated that what's happened in St. Lucia in terms of Rastafari rights being entrenched in the Constitution has not happened in Jamaica, that the minister, in saying that Jamaica was the first to do that, erred. As a matter of fact, the language was pretty strong because it says that's false. And in addition to that, the Rastafari Act, which you have been here already, the RMO and members of the RMO over a series of programs talking about. But I know specifically that because of those conversations, that you have also, the RMO, written to the minister, and you've been doing this over a while. Where is this now in terms of, is there a response from the minister? And remind our listeners of when we talk about the Rastafari Act, what are we looking at?
Give thanks, Sister Kabu. So I think a few important points. And I would like to make the point also that we're not really talking about any one administration. We're talking about the Jamaican state in relationship to its relationship with the Rastafari movement. Mm-hmm. So, we're not pointing a finger on any one administration. What we're saying is that Jamaica as a country has not recognized the Rastafari faith and culture in writing and formally in legislation, and using that as an anchor to ensure human rights and justice, and especially reparatory justice based on the atrocities, not just in Coral Gardens, which is the one apology that has been formalized, and some sense of small, relatively small reparation effort given, but Pinnacle, Bakawal, and also the abuses and the rights violations in the ganja industry. So going back to the point about, I think the statement was made about recognition in law, which is true, but that is a limited recognition. It's recognition under one act, which is the Amendment Act of a Dangerous Drug Framework, which, the Rastafari community really takes offense at that, because it's like recognizing the sacrament, a very sacred and spiritual thing within a criminal law. So, it's starting off on a wrong footing, to be acknowledging the rights, the faith-based rights of a community, of a movement, of a culture, through a dangerous drug act. Mm-hmm. So this is where, when we look at regional models, that the St. Kitts one is an interesting one, because it's really pulling the Rastafari faith and the recognition of this faith outside of any one specific thematic issue. It's looking at it as an overarching right, a human right, and indigenous right, a civil right. We can call on at least 10 human rights frameworks in the international sphere to ensure that the rights would be fully covered. Mm-hmm. The other point that's really important to make is that when Honorable Minister Grange speaks about recognition in the Constitution in terms of religion, it's very generic. It doesn't mention the word Rastafari, which in of itself, it needs to be in there as a recognition, because it is it's not a faith that has been fully recognized as a religion and faith. So those benefits to accrue to a religion that has been, or faith organization that has been formalized, the benefits accrue in terms of how that entity can operate. So I've already mentioned on two fronts where there's a failing in terms of ensuring assurance of rights. Another one would be just the piecemeal approach. When we look at so many areas, and I know Sister Nani was trying to reach on the program, and she's really been following up on some of these more, let's say, sectoral rights-based issues. And I'm speaking of education. So if we do not have rights that are entrenched in the Education Act, there are going to then be challenges in the implementation and enforcement. So based on that whole Supreme Court ruling about a one child who had dreadlocks, there had to be an overturning of a Supreme Court ruling that was defending the school for barring the child because of dreadlocks. So years later, then after a lot of agitation, you have the case turned over, and the effort by the ministry is then to provide a grooming policy. So this is a policy that is again adopted or not adopted based on the discretion of a school or a principal or a teacher. But what needs to really happen is that these constitutional rights need to be in the relevant act. After the recognition is articulated in the Constitution in terms of Rastafari recognition, then the articulation or the translation of that overarching right based on a group that has been recognized, it then has to filter into the relevant legislation. And in this case, it would be the Education Act. And then we look at areas that are very narrow. I mean, dreadlocks is one aspect of discrimination that goes on in schools in terms of Rastafari children. So, from dietary practices to, being compulsory to have to attend religious education, or if there's a critical or a well-revered holy day within the Rastafari community, there's going to be some kind of penalty for not being on school at that, on that day.
So, Dr. Karida, as we reflect on how far Rastafari have come, we're saying 60 years. Obviously, it's way before 60. We're looking, though, at the visit of His Imperial Majesty to Jamaica. This is where we're taking it from this morning. But Rastafari agitating for basic human rights, for their own rights within the state, as an indigenous group, has been going on for a very, very long time. Rastafari has recognized that. As you look back, to reflect then, if you will, on what has happened over the years to where we are now, I hear you saying that there are little gains, but the umbrella, the decision that needs to be taken, the legislations that need to be in place, that these are not necessarily, they're pitchy-patchy. One here in education, one probably over there in justice, one probably over there in health and so on. So what would the Rastafari Act do differently to ensure that we are close to, or even way ahead, if you will, of what St. Kitts has done in entrenching Rastafari rights in the Constitution, outside of just in law here and there?
So give thanks. It gives an opportunity to answer a few questions that you had about what efforts we'd made to reach out to the relevant parties, first of all through the Minister of Culture, where there's been a designated role or responsibility for liaisonship with the community, and then the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs in terms of the Constitution. So both of those entities of government have received submissions from the RMO which have not been answered or even acknowledged. And, this is a bit concerning if there's a level of respect. That has to come first. There has to be a respect to say a request for audience on an important topic related to a vulnerable group that has been made vulnerable by the state after decades of decimation, displacement. This is why it's important to make this statement, because if you just talk in general terms, it may sound bad, but if you start looking at cases cumulatively, it's a human rights atrocity. And it is one that cannot be, one cannot be living in a country as a leader and just choose to ignore these things. It's impossible. So an apology, that was the first, I would say, a milestone moment, because following an apology must then come reparations. But there is no overarching reparatory framework that acknowledges all of the mass removal or destruction of homes. So how does a community really get back on the ground? So this is where, when you ask what is the difference, it is asking for, first of all, an official recognition of a faith that's not yet specified or identified in terms of their identity, and allowing that group to actually define what they are and their identity. So taking deriving from that, then what are the protections that have to be there? For example, refusal of vaccination, because Rastafari as a group does not believe in external intervention into the body, but rather in terms of preventive health. So there's just so many considerations that have to be involved.
Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Kirilo, doesn't this take us to, as opposed to faith, to Rastafari as an indigenous group? As I always say in this space, the only indigenous response to slavery, to oppression, to imperialism, to empire in the Caribbean, if you will. So that, because if you go faith, there is the church that Center Fox had, a Center Fox, who has been on this program many times, talking about the right that church has to operate, and it was identified at the time when we were doing those interviews many years ago as a church. And I suppose this is what the minister might have been referencing when she talked about what has happened already for Rastafari. But we know that was one church. That was one Rastafari group, which was identified as a church. Because I hear you talk about the definition, the group defining itself, the Rastafari movement defining itself. But isn't it difficult to define Rastafari outside of Rastafari being an indigenous group, if you will? I'm looking for another word than group, but you have to go indigenous, which would get rid of all of these conversations about whether you have a right to worship here, because then you look at that as under an umbrella of how do you, and there's so many, I think, best practices, and I think also it's through the international organizations. What do we know about the rights of indigenous groups in any country? This is the point that I'm making, is it outside, can we go outside of faith into what Rastafari really is, in terms of, if you're even going to begin to define Rastafari, which I think is not so easy, or it's possibly impossible to do?
I mean, it's not that impossible, and yes, the group should identify and define themselves, but anyone who has a love for Rastafari, in not too long a time, they can explain what this liberty looks like, from a spiritual point of view, from a health point of view, philosophical. It's not really hard to put a finger on what this faith is about and the divinity of His Majesty. So I don't think, if one wants to define this homegrown group, and this is a group that, in terms of the word indigenous, and I would ask First Man to bring his perception into this, but there is a lot to do with that definition of indigenous in terms of the geographic, which I think we should steer away from. But in terms of being an indigenous culture that has defined itself and emerged, it has emerged out of that situation of the recognition of His Majesty as a black king, coming out of independence and post-colonial era, all of the context that brought Rastafari into being, Marcus Garvey and all of his prophecies. So I would love if Honorable Firstman could bring his view into this, but I don't think that it is difficult to define.
Priest Lamont, just before we go back to Ras Firstman, a text has come in, and I'm getting many texts, by the way, but I'm going to read this one and have you respond to it because it directly connects to what we're saying here. It says, Rastafari is protected under Jamaica's charter. The person, first of all, says, my thoughts. And says, Rastafari is protected under Jamaica's charter through freedom of conscience and protection from discrimination based on creed. The issue is not absence in law, but consistency in application. If we are to point to regional developments, the real question is how Jamaica moves from broad constitutional protection to meaningful lived recognition of Rastafari rights and practices. Your response to that? Turn your microphone on, priest. We're not hearing you. We're seeing you now too. Good, but we're not hearing Priest Lamont. I'm not quite sure why. I think it has to do with your microphone. No, not hearing Priest Lamont at all. All right, let me see if we can get a response to that. In the meantime, from Ras Firstman. Okay, so it is not you on Zoom. This might be our issue because I'm not hearing you. Dr. Karida, are you there? Let me see if you can respond. There you go. It's not you either. I'm so sorry. All right. Help me out here, Peter, because I'm not sure what's happening, but because I'm not hearing our guests who are on Zoom. But in the meantime, getting lots of messages coming in. Thank you so much. All right. A text says the act need to have mandatory language where the minister shall, and the powers of legislation should be cross-cutting in the various ministries that impact the community, culture, justice, and education. Also, and the text that Sister Karida was saying, read the shortcomings. Quite a few texts coming in. Thank you so much, Andy. All right, let me see if we have now the sound up. Peter, we're not hearing our guests on Zoom, so if we could check that out for us. Priest, let me see if I'm hearing you now. I'm not seeing you either. All right. Yeah, there you are. Okay, no. All right.
Hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead.
All right, let me say celebratory greetings again to the Rastafari community for the 60th anniversary celebration. As it relates to the matter, when we look at the fact that in the EADIC is an organization existing from 1958, and we are known as a churchical entity. Nonetheless, we see that there is no real recognition. A person in the Christian faith could just get up and go in front of a building and have a service, or they can set up a tent and they are recognized as a church. But we as Rastafari, who claim and holds Emperor Haile Selassie as our creator, our God, we are not seen as a praise and worship. We are not respected as a divine entity where we recognize our deity, our God. And from the fact that we are holding a creator in recognition, it means that we are a godly inclined set of people, and it should be seen like other organizations and groups that have hold on to their God and their way of worship. So whilst they have given us sacramental rights and not recognizing us clearly as a churchical organization, the Rastafari community should be seen clearly as a praise and worship set of people. and be given that respect without we have to be registered, or we have to go through several different angles. And there's a Rastafari organization that is recognized. I heard you mention about Center Fox. The fact is that they have been recognized through the parliament, and other groups may not have gone that way, and maybe for that reason they are not recognized as praise and worship groups. But the entire Rastafari community is a praise and worship group and should be respected like that. And haste should be made to remove the Rastafari sacrament from the dangerous drug act situation, because the scenario that we faced. I am traveling. I was stopped at the corner of Pigeon Street and Marcus Garvey there. And when I said to the policemen that were there, this is my sacrament, and it should not be handled. I will show it to you. And it was like, when we see drugs, you can't tell me not to touch it. I mean, not to angle it. And I'm saying, that's how you describe my sacrament?
Yeah.
If it were the bread and wine of the Catholic Church or some other organization, would you deal with it that way? And they were like, you can't tell me what to deal with drugs. So I'm saying these are things that need to be addressed and to be entrenched in the legal system. A mandate, a force order, a public education system where the police as well as the entire Jamaica community should be educated and informed of the Rastafari rights, being that it's something that, especially when it comes to the ganja rights, remember we have been persecuted for many, many years, and now we have created a law to say we are not to be persecuted, but it's not published to the wider public or even to the police, who we have to interface all the time on the streets.
Russ Firstman, I know Dr. Karida wanted you to address the issue also, because it's interesting, because even as we're talking, right, there's so many messages coming into on the RFM text line, just widely from across the world, where, and it is divided, just to be fair and to be frank, where there are many people who are saying, Rastafari don't need an act. This is a whole lot coming in, and then everybody's saying, and so many other persons saying, well, yes, this is exactly what is needed, and if we're going to go the route of St. Kitts, then this is exactly the kind of conversations we need to move on. Your own perspective of this, because you mentioned before, that this is how the different administrations have engaged with Rastafari over time, which is along this very line to say, well, Rastafari is not, it doesn't have a unified vision of where this needs to go.
Right. And just to let you know, I've put in the chat that I may be changing device, but are you hearing me clearly now?
Hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, beautiful. So I hope I get this answer out.
Yeah.
Now, on the topic of, you were asking for the word, right? And the word is really people. We are indigenous people. We can't be coming. You can't go somewhere coming. Oh, let me just close this one.
All right. So we have you in two places. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I closed in this one now.
Right. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So you can't be coming from somewhere going nowhere. You have to be coming from somewhere.
Yes.
And that's what Rastafari has claimed. We are before colonialism, and that's what we stand on. There's absolutely no part of our community that can deny that. However, it is a layered process. Layered process in the sense that when you look at the indigenous people rights coming out of the United Nations, the fact of the matter is that the state should ensure that whatever route Rastafari wants to take, or indigenous communities want to take to liberate themselves, to ensure that they stand on their own grounds, the state, through their focal institution like Ministry of Culture and so on, they must make those provisions. So, for example, if the Bubba chant to see themselves as a churchical order, and that's what they see, then there should be nothing stopping any indigenous community, because you said something profound as well. what are the best practice examples. And the best practice examples are there when you look at the Native American First Nation people of Canada. Everyone has made their own sort of approach, and what has to happen from the government side is that all of the approaches need to be facilitated. It's the same thing with Emperor Haile King Selassie I. As he moved in Ethiopia into what we call the modern era, he still had to ensure that all indigenous practices were preserved. So the conversation is about preserve, evolution, advancement of a community, and this is why it's interministerial. It has to be something that people are open to allow. Indigenous people are not people you can place in a box and say they have the right. That's what it is coming from. These are indigenous, meaning that you have the right to advance your own mission the way how you see fit. And when the government deals with us and try to say that you're separated, you're this, you're that, there is absolutely no group that is indigenous across the world that has one approach to anything at all.
Yeah.
None.
And that's the bottom line.
We went to a conference in Canada just to prove this. 672 different First Nation groups are there. And then you have some that is calling themselves Six Nation. And you have some of them that is, they are by themselves. And what the government has had to do is to develop an indigenous ministry within the framework of Canada, right? Much more like how you would see that liaison officer in the Ministry of Culture. But you walk to the Ministry of Culture and see the cubicle that liaison officer have. It is not a budgeted space. And that's the biggest problem that we have, that everything that is being done here lacks budget. Ministry of Culture in the last administration, when we went to them and talked to them about, defending the rights of Rastafari, they laugh and said, there is a joke in government that Ministry of Culture only get what Bud get. We are not a part of a budget. So how can you defend the rights of a people without a budget? So when you look at budget reading going across in everything, there's nothing coming out that is identifying a community, identifying what they have to do. The work of culture is preservation, protection, and promotion of the morals of a culture, and how it and the Rastafari community, and how that fabric that is in the fabric of the society through tourism. I mean, the Jamaican football team, I hear one guy getting interview and he was saying that big up the red, gold and green. He didn't even remember that the Jamaican flag color was what it was, so you can see how Rastafari is totally in this space but not being preserved, not being protected, and not being promoted for its relevance. Because we are relevant.
I'm going to throw it back to you, Dr. Kurita, in the last few minutes. We're totally out of time, actually, but we'll just give you a few minutes to say then what from here regarding the Rastafari Act, regarding constitutional and law rights 60 years after. I know that you are awaiting a response from the minister, the laying out a lot of this to them, a lot of what has been said here and that you've said many, many times in this space through the RMO. But where do we go from here now? What next?
Give thanks. I would want the opportunity to just quickly read in response to why do we need a Rastafari Act or that we don't need. This part of the statement that says none of the government's legal provisions separately or together creates a national system that protects Rastafari from pervasive discrimination across policing, prisons, schools, employment, land access, healthcare, housing, culture, and economic life. This shortfall and fragmentation in it itself is the root of the problem. The RMO's call for a comprehensive Rastafari Rights and Justice Act is therefore not rhetorical excess. It is the logical response to a piecemeal legal order that leaves rights uncertain, discretionary, and weakly enforced. This is indefensible in a country that continues to aggressively commodify Rastafari across tourism, marketing, and politics without consent, protection or benefit sharing, especially stark in tourism, which is Jamaica's leading earner of foreign exchange. I just wanted to push that in because I think maybe what is different with St. Kitts is that the Prime Minister's mother is a Rastafari. You see, when you get felt experience with discrimination and stigma, it kind of takes a different priority than when one is an onlooker. And so I think this is now the time, this is now 60 years since the visit of His Majesty, that is really the divine light that is responsible for the birth of the movement and has sustained it despite all of this persecution. And now at 60 years, what the hope of the Rastafari family is that we can move beyond rights protection to advancement of the community. Since post Melissa, there's a lot of important plans that are in place, and there's needed for reparatory justice and support to really fulfill the Rastafari creed, and where Rastafari can actually play a role in Jamaica's recovery, because Rastafari has never tried to support only those that share the same culture and faith. It has always been a defender of the rights and champion of the rights for the grassroots and the oppressed. So,
and finally, before you go, because a question keeps coming to my own mind, with what has happened, say with a Centre of Fox's church, because that went through Parliament, that went through that's really legislated, if you will. If there are Rastafari mansions and houses that want to identify in the way that Ascension, or over time identify in the way that Ascension Fox's churches identify, do they have the very same recourse? Can they go through the same process to be then legally recognized through law in the way that Ascension Fox's church has been recognized?
I would seek, sort of legal opinion. Someone like Natisi would be a good consultant on that. But what strikes me there is that there would be up to the discretion of a state individual that could, say yes or no to agree on a registration. I think what the community is seeking here now, the RMO, is a recognition that would be broad-based and whole-scale. And so it doesn't depend on having to put in an application to say, please, sir, or please, madam, can you recognize me? It's recognition that is given, and acknowledged, and therefore all multi-sectoral legislative pieces will take off from there. So what we're really seeking is audience, a response to the letter, and working together. It is in the interest. Rastafari is such a beacon of light and recognition of Jamaica internationally. So with support, it's not something that's a negative thing. This is what I can't. If the more that intellectual property rights of Rastafari is recognized, it's not just supporting the entire community and those that are influenced by it, but Jamaica as a whole. But where is the sort of justice and ensuring that the benefit sharing is assisting with the needs of the community, especially the elders who have been persecuted, and now there's an appropriation of the same said culture. It's really, we have to do better as a Jamaica right now.
And just to underscore, the RMO is now asking for audience with the relevant ministry, which is the Ministry of Culture, and a response to a letter that has been sent to the ministry. I think more than once this letter was sent. And also, you said three things. So audience with audience with the Ministry of Culture team, and then also the legal and constitutional affairs, because there was a public request for submissions for constitutional reform. It was sent in. I would assume if there's a good participatory process where civil rights groups have been invited, there should at least be a response to say this is when there will be a forum for a reasoning around the submission. So once again, the RMO is Rastafari mansions and organizations. Many mansions, and houses, many mansions have come together and organizations to form this umbrella group, which is the RMO. So it is representative of a wide swathe of Rastafari on the ground here in Jamaica. And here we have, the last time Sister Karita was on with members of the RMO, this was the very same request. The request to the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs at the time. I don't think we still have one. Or no, it must be the Ministry of Justice or something. But a responsible letter that has been sent out and audience with the team or with the minister. Here we are, 60 years after the visit of His Majesty, where we're hearing from the halls of the minister's chambers, the Minister of Culture, that Rastafari has all the rights entrenched in law, and that they have done this way ahead of St. Kitts and Nevis, and yet Rastafari is asking for an audience with the minister, and has written to the minister, and there's been no response, and no response to the request for the audience, and no response to the letter. Dr. Karita MacDonald, Honorable Priest Lamont, and Ras First Man, thank you so much for participating this morning.
Yes, I give thanks.
Right. Okay, so even though I'm hearing him loud and clear, he's pretty low, so is there anything we can do about that, Peter? Rastafari Root House, tell us a little bit about that first, Rasnigas.
Well, Rastafari Root House is really an Rastafari organization who really represent the oneness of Rastafari, all-inclusive, Bobo Shanti, Naya Bingi, the entire family, represent the oneness, which His Majesty speak about from them time there, organize and centralize, that is really our mission, repatriation, back to Africa.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I know you've been listening in on the conversation, so let me just get your first response to what you've heard so far, and anything that you want to say in addition to what we heard from the brethren and sistren who were just on.
Yeah, well, I'm on personal, the fact that I am on reach here today, and I really and truly would have want, send out a sound to the, there was a time concerning Rastafari rights, sacramental rights, when based upon the reason with the Minister of Justice, there was a letter sent off to the Commissioner of Police, concerning Rastafari rights and what Rastafari can do according to the 2015 amendment. And I really and truly I want the one them for, touch upon them things Rastafari could have get that full recognition concerning the sacramental rights. See it? Yeah, because that letter was sent declaring all of the rights from Minister Chuck to the Commissioner of Police, declaring all of the rights of Rastafari have concerning the 2015 amendment in terms of transport ganja, cultivate ganja, and have an exempt event. What we see even last week, a Rastaman still got caught in a St. Elizabeth for 32 pounds of herbs, and so would I like to know them thing there, put a stop to them thing there. So I and the Rastafari community now requesting a force order, from the relevant authority, where them could send that to the police, but them know say, ease off of the Rastafari community, because it is 11 years now since the right is in, established. Yes, sir.
So the challenges remain even as we focus on where do we go from here 60 years after the visit of His Imperial Majesty. And once again, we want to underscore that Rastafari is not 60 years old in Jamaica. We're just looking back at this material manifestation point when His Majesty came to Jamaica from as part of his Caribbean tour. The challenges are real. What are you hearing, if anything, from the minister? I know you were you came as part of this conversation, which was kind of foregrounding the Rastafari Act, constitutional and law rights. Do you your own thinking as to, is this where we need to go through the Rastafari Act, and what are you hearing from the minister?
Well, I'm on here as sound what they, concerning Jamaica as the first one, for recognize the Rastafari. But we will want more recognition, as, equal recognition as a person, that's no form of discrimination against I and I. You know, so I and I would really want to see them things that where, you know, the government acknowledge the Rastafari community and know that over the years, I and I are that one there who bring forth this whole tourism and the whole culture of Rastafari and the whole culture of Jamaica is really Rastafari is the strongest thing where Jamaica see it upon and the whole economic thing surround I and I. Even when you check the craft and the whole of these things is Rastafari really promote, you know.
Yes.
Bob Marley is really the one who put Jamaica up on the map them way there. So I say we just need recognition as a people. And you know, the fact that I and I right, as we said before, established for over 11 years now, but I want them to recognize I and I, you know, as true recognition, you know, and treat I and I, you know, as I and I deserve. You know,
thank you so much, my brother. Once again, thank you so much for coming in. You know the panel here, so I can't go and hang out with you for the whole morning. Rastafari, we deal with all morning, right? Give thanks. Or inside of the Africa Forum, this is Running Africa, and we're going through until 10 o'clock. The Big A comes in at 10 with the Sunday Sunshine. In the meantime, we're talking Rastafari business all morning this morning. In this segment, we're going to be looking at Rastafari economics as we talk with the House of Siba. Where do we go from here? And just kind of be going to be contextualizing the economics of it all in this segment. The House of Siba, you know, I smell something, you know. No, honestly, it smells good. I'm not hiding in the phone. It smells nice. It smells good. It smells because Peter just opened the door and it smells good. Okay, so the House of Siba is an Indigenous Rastafari community. It's a Jamaica-based spiritual and cultural institution dedicated to the preservation and advancement of Rastafari liberty, African identity, and Indigenous sovereignty, rooted in the principles of faith, self-determination, and community order. The House of Siba serves as a place of worship, reasoning, and cultural development. They are no stranger to IRFM and to the Africa Forum in particular. The community upholds the sacred use of ganja as a sacrament, and it smells good. Anybody who burning that can come, please to put some right here, some burn beside me. It is really the high class one, high grade. Emphasizing its role in meditation, spiritual connection, and collective grounding, and this is why I need it right now. Through its work, the House of Siba advocates for the protection of sacramental rights, alignment with legal frameworks, and the recognition of Rastafari traditions as legitimate expressions of religious and cultural freedom. Beyond spiritual practices, the organization is actively engaged in building systems of economic and community sustainability and promoting what it defines as Rastafari economic sovereignty. Thank you so much, Peter. But Peter, you never liked it. So this is what mess around. Right. It smells really good, but it's late, or it's like smell like incense. So all right. So I'm going to no, it's all legal. Believe me, it's all legal. This is nothing illegal that's happening right here. This is all legal on the island, and we're not advocating for anything illegal. Right. So just okay, now I understand. So I'm just going to open it right here, and you know, you can it does a whole lot of stuff when you talk about spirituality. All right, so we're going to be looking at the economics of it all as Rastafari, as the House of Siba focuses Rastafari economic sovereignty. Its initiatives include education, event hosting, and development of structured spaces of worship and cultural expression, including the ongoing rebuilding of its Indigenous Rastafari temple. Through its presence and advocacy, the House of Siba Indigenous Rastafari community continues to contribute to the wider movement for African resilience, unity, and self-governance, both within Jamaica and across the global African diaspora. Once again, we are just on the eve of the 60th anniversary of the visit of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie to Jamaica as part of his Caribbean tour to Barbados, to Trinidad and Tobago, to Haiti. and we're looking back to go forward. Sankofa-ing, looking through the rearview mirror, see where we have been and where we are. The group with us this morning from the house of Siba, Ras Jabali Siba, Ras Iggy, Ras Ig, or Iggy, you can tell me if it's Iggy, Ras Michael, Empress Love I, Empress Malia Siba, Don Mama. Always happy to have the house of Siba in the house with us. Greetings, brethren. Greetings, how you doing? Right, so this is where it's coming from, because I can, if you, there you go. Wow, looking beautiful as usual. Ras Jabali Siba.
Blessed love.
I see you, my brother, and thank you so much for coming in with the team. Let me just hear from the all who are sitting there on the couch. Just let me get the names, because I have called some names, but I know we have our little nieces, and I'm not quite sure nephews, but I definitely see our nieces there on the couch. Let me have from you. I hear from you who they are. Let me have each person introduce themselves.
Yes, I give thanks.
Yes.
Ras Jabal, as they I know. Ras Igi and Ras Michael couldn't make it, but we have Ras Imin and Ras Buzzrock representing.
Okay, Ras Imin and Ras Buzzrock. All right. And the little ones?
Greetings, my sister.
Greetings. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing very well.
Yes.
Well, I'm from the House of Siba, one of the senior members.
Yes.
And we are here to support what is happening now with our community.
Yes.
So it's good to be here. I am Empress Love I.
Empress Love I. Greetings, my sister. Welcome, Akwaba. Let me hear from the others. We have there.
I am Dela Seba.
Hi, say that again. You are?
I am Dela Seba.
Welcome, Akwaba. Who is this now?
I am Tafaya Seba.
Beautiful.
I am Safi Seba.
I love those names. Safi Seba. Safi, how you doing, sis? Yeah.
Greetings to you. I am Gamila Seba.
Gamila Seba. I know I've met you all before, I'm sure, at the last Marcus Garvey event. It might have been. Really nice to have you back.
Greetings to you. I am Empress Malia Seba, a.k.a. Don Mama Seba.
Don Mama in the house. Every time. Yes. Welcome, sis.
My name is Billion Seba.
And we keep saying House of Siba, but it's Seba, isn't it? Because everybody's saying Seba. And I'm saying House of Siba. All right, so Seba, we'll say from now. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Balia Seba.
Oh, brilliant. Welcome.
Greetings. Yes, this is Ras Imin, a member of the House of Siba.
All right. Well, listen now, somebody's going to have to correct me. So do I say Siba or Seba? Ras Jabali, is it Siba or Seba, my brother?
My name is Malik Seba.
Malik Seba, greetings. Oh, but you're not on camera. I'm not seeing you, so step into the light, into the camera light.
Blessed morning.
Yes, greetings.
Rastafari.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Ras Buzzrock.
Buzzrock, greetings, my brother. Who do we have?
My name is Malik Seba.
Malik, greetings, welcome.
Yes, I give thanks.
Yes.
Empress, have you give us a chance to start with a little reverence, you know?
Oh, yes.
Rastafari,
Every
we have to touch
time.
little reverence, you know?
Every time.
Give thanks.
Greetings again, my brothers that are here. And I know what is a gathering for. And I know what is a gathering for. Yes, I. Rastafari. And I know what is a gathering for. And I know what is a gathering for. Yes, I, Rastafari. Yes, I. Give us a short prayer. I and I a short prayer. Rastafari.
Yes, Selassie. Make a joyful noise unto Rastafari, all the land. I serve Selassie with gladness and come before his presence. No, I Selassie live in Niger that made I and not to find himself. Find his people and the sheep of his path. When I intend his gate with thanksgiving, to his court with eyes. And I be thankful unto him and bless his name. For his Selassie is good, his mercy is everlasting, his truth endure throughout all generation. Bless the pine and keep pine and going out and coming in from this time forth and forever. There is a fine eye Mount Isis, and meditation fine eye, they are stepping thy side. I just lost here. Cheer! Cheer!
Aye.
Selassie.
Aye. Yes, Empress, give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks.
Thank you for having us in studio this morning.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my brother. In this segment, as we look back to go forward, Sankofa Ing, we're talking about Rastafari economics, which the House of Siba embodies. This is one of the major tenets of the House of Siba. I read a little bit about what the House of Siba is, but as we look back 60 years after, moving forward, what are two, if you can, of the most critical challenges do you think Rastafari is facing now on the island of Jamaica and, if you will, globally?
Yes, I give thanks. Let me start off by giving thanks to His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie.
Just a little bit low, and I'm not quite sure if it's our thing, so if we could just get, I'm not hearing.
Eli.
Yes, that's much better, yes.
Yes, let us start off and giving thanks to His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie and his Empress Menen, mother and father of creation. Rastafari live. Again, we big up the RMO, and I as a member of the RMO. I want ones know, so we are RMO, we say Rastafari Mansions and organization. Whether you join up now or you not join up now, you're still part of the RMO, regardless. The work what the RMO they do, we have to thank them.
Yes.
See a big hurricane just gone, and right now nobody at all now look out for Rastafari. RMO out there, all over the place to all of what they can do.
Yes.
Things that bring all tears to eye. We know say them ones that do the work where necessary to do. Not just I, but the whole team. Sister Nani, Ras Negos, Ras IAV, the ones that out there, ones not to see them.
Yes.
Or even consider the ones that up till 1 o'clock at night, they try to figure out ways and means or Rastafari if we move forward. So we have to start off from this, if we bless up the item and give thanks for that work there.
Yes.
Well, the two things now is just serious economics and rights. Yeah, it just kind of broke it off right there. So the two major things.
Economics and rights.
And yes, economics and rights. Recognition of I&I rights.
And as you know, we dealt with, and we wish we had more time, and I think an ongoing conversation is what we're going to have, looking at the rights as we go forward. The economics of it now is what we're going to talk to the House of Siba about. So I'm going to start off with you. Just let us have a little look at why for Rastafari, economics is one of the major things that needs to be foregrounded as we go forward 60 years after.
Yes, I give thanks. So, we can start off by saying a little explanation on House of Siba.
Yes.
Because one CI here and we have some things on the table. So, economics is very important. And one of the things what Rastafari always did was trading. And we want once we look at these things and we structure ourselves as a model. So, all Rastafari entity can do the same thing because, as we say, it is His Majesty, through his works, entrenched certain things in law and as Indigenous people. If we look at the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, we have a right for self-governance and we set up our own economical basis. So we need to move forward, especially when we have governmental complaints. Say, them recognize Rasta is a time for I step out now and live Rasta. No talk too much about Rasta. Live Rasta now, because Babylon not too much who is Rasta. So I have to go live Rasta in at this time now. So ones and ones can see what truly Rastafari is.
Yeah.
We have our schools to build. If you look around I have 9 youth. We have grand youth anyway. We have schools to build. We have the ancient to take care of. We need to establish Rastafari sovereign fund. All Rastafari can benefit out of. There's a lot of things. RMO got whole heap of plans. There's RMO triple R plan. I don't know much many ones know about that. That they had a launch the other day. I noticed they didn't get a lot of time to talk about that. They had a launch the other day where ones can contribute to assist Rastafari in need who are damaged by the storm, hurricane season again, and canvas still up on roof. So economics is very important, one of the most important thing now as we speak, go forward.
Well, Rasnigos is still there, and I'll go forward to Rasnigos again later in the program to talk a little bit more about that, since he is coming from the RMO segment. But let me, and you know you're part of RMO, but let me just go forward now to talk a little bit more about the because you're living Rastafari, you say, and not just talk Rastafari, because we are what we do, not what we say. So let me hear from Empress Malia Siba, Don Mama, about how this is being done within the House of Siba and how that, what that template looks like.
So let me introduce Empress Dan Mama. As you know, as an indigenous community, you have many aspects of the community.
Yeah.
So Empress Dan Mama is responsible for what we say the health side of things. So it's the Dan Mama's naturopathic consultant services that we offer. Naturopathic services, tell ones and ones what herbs they can use for different ailments.
Okay.
And she heads that department.
All right. So let's talk about that, because I think this is a collective that deals with different elements of the economics of Rastafari. Go ahead, Empress.
Greetings. So my role as Empress of House of Siba is just to ensure that everything runs as it's supposed to. As you were asking about economics and the development and all of that around it, the role of House of Siba, as Ras Jabali mentioned, is just for us to be a model, just so other Rastafari houses, mansions, etc. can look at what we are doing, not because we're doing it perfectly, but just because we're doing it. As he would have said as well, Rastafari is not just about talking, it's about doing. The children are not listening what you say, they're watching what you do. As Don Mama though, my onus and my job is to ensure that Rastafari is communicated, because as we always know, if you have a belly ache, usually back in the days, you would find a Rastaman. You want the natural herbs. You want to know, what can I use for this? What can I use for that? That culture, I'm not going to say is dying. I'm going to say that that culture is still here. And as at House of Siba, we ensure that this is something that is going to live on through the children. All of my children are children who actually assist from time to time in this naturopathic care. So they are, briefed on what these herbs are for. Because in the continuation of Rastafari and all the legacy and all the knowledge and all the things that Bob Marley sang about and all the things that we are known for, if it dies with us, then what was the point? So
how important is it for obviously the within the broader context, but we're speaking about Rastafari now, because this is, I think, a wider Jamaican issue where there's a lot of talking about what we should do and not so much of the doing of it. How important is it to do, and what are some of the things that are being done at the House of Siba? Hold, let me take a quick of Siba in this space as we look at 60 years after the visit of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie to Jamaica. Where do we go from here? The Rastafari economics, and Ras Jabali Siba along with the team from the House of Siba in the house. Empress Malia Siba Don Mama is talking to us about the importance of doing as opposed to just talking. How important is it, my sister?
All right. So as I was saying before, how important it is to do is just that everyone else sees that you're actually doing it. Now, we have different products here, different products that are on their way. We're always trying to evolve, because Rastafari, like everything else, is supposed to evolve.
Can we see the products? Yes, go ahead.
So we do have, for example, a lot of Rastafari brethren, sisterins, we use ganja for different reasons. Some of us use it for tea, some of us use it for meditation and reverence and all of that. We have what we would want to call the first Rastafari branded rolling papers, hemp, white papers, brown papers. We also ensure that we carry on the traditions of roots, something that Don Mama is popularly known for, roots, teas, etc. The sacramental ganja that is grown organically without, as the Virgin was saying, it don't even smell like the regular ganja. That is because it's not packed with all the, what you call it? Chemicals. Yeah, for a softer word. The chemicals and all of that. So everything is vital. It's very important that we position ourselves today, tomorrow, and always, just so the younger youths, because back in the day, every youth wanted to be a Rasta, Every youth wanted to, but now, persons grow their locks, and when you call them Rasta, they're like, I'm not a Rasta. We want the future to be proud that we are continuing this tradition. We are continuing this culture as Rastafari people. So it's very important that we show up. It's very important that we innovate or, bring in new things, new ideas. We culture new ideas. We foster new ideas. It's very, very important. It's very important to embody and to overall emulate and embrace Rastafari. So we support each other. We buy from each other. We talk to each other. If I have a consultation with someone and I'm unclear of what exactly to say to them, I will have to consult with an elder, as they would want to say, not elder though, but an ancient Rastafari, an ancient Rastaigi, Sister Lovai, you want to consult with the elders, the ancient Rastafaris, because they know things that I am supposed to know. And I know things that the younger youths are supposed to know. So it's really a relay. And
a community.
Right. And at this point in the relay, you want to run a good race.
Thank you so much for that, my sister. Rasta Bali, Don Mama talks about the community, the unity, working with different groups within and outside of the immediate community. What does that look like in practice within the House of Siba in terms of how others are engaged by you in the economics of things, to themselves find markets, if you will, find success, that kind of a stuff? Because I know there's so much that you're doing, working with farmers and others. Talk to us about that element of it, which I think is the olden way, the ancient way of doing things.
Yes, I give thanks. I would like to also add, when we look at economics, the Rastafari community, we saw that we were a little bit short of money within the Rastafari community as a collective. But then when I looked within the country, Rastafari was contributing so much to other economies based upon who is the distributors of the things that Rastafari is using. So that's why we say, okay, Rastafari needs money. We look at a thing like rolling paper. Who smokes ganja in Jamaica? Who use ganja in Jamaica? Rastafari. And Jamaica spend like between $100 to $150 million every week on rolling paper. So if we can get that money to come inside the community, so this box of rolling paper will be distributed to the different sacred spaces across the island, the different Rastafari spaces across the island, the different maroon spaces across the island, because we're an indigenous group. So we try to work with all indigenous groups, not just Rastafari. Take the time out to big up Chief Curry and big up the other chiefs from the maroon community. So Rastafari is the grassroots of Jamaica, So this rolling paper we are distributing, but it will go to a corner shop, and that corner shop also will make a profit from it also. So, and the money is turning within the community. So the aim from this rolling paper project is to start a rolling paper project to make rolling papers from ganja stick. So this is like the initial stage to raise the funds. So we want to do a rolling paper manufacturing from ganja stick, and also a agro-processing facility to process all these fruits and herbs into roots wine and distribute them globally to Rastafari across the globe. So Rastafari, so we're bringing back the money in the community, like our community should function, where the money circulates within the community and don't come out.
Yes.
From Rastafari hands to Rastafari hands. So we just asking Rastafari to just get on board. In another 2 weeks, we have House of Siba will be on the road distributing rolling papers, and not just rolling papers, everything that Rastafari use. So we have bitterwood chip package, we have it grounded, we have almost everything that Rastafari use that will be distributing.
What are talk to us about that. What are some of the other stuff you have there? Because this is phenomenal, isn't it?
So we have Ital Jackie pineapple roots wine, and then we have the Ital Jackie roots wine, and then we have our rolling paper, we have our grinders, we have packaged cinnamon sticks, we have Medina, guava leaf. We have everything that gives you a Rastafari experience.
Yes.
So one of the things is Rastafari sacred spaces. When you see ones look at a Rastafari sacred space, instantly their mind run to a ganja shop. But a Rastafari sacred space was way more than a ganja shop. It's an healing center. It's an economical base. It's a space where a Rastafari in the mountain would bring his callaloo or his cabbage, and he'll come down to the front and sit at the Rastafari space, and somebody would pick it up. So that's what we want to bring back to the livity.
What is that? What is that in the little black? It's showing black on my screen.
Yeah, it's a herb grinder.
What is it?
Herb grinder. So you will need it to grind all herbs.
Okay.
When you're grinding ganja or soursop leaf or rosemary or whatever you need to grind for whatever use. Yeah, it's big enough to grind and hard enough to grind roots and.
Okay. And this is contextualizing things within the economics of, or the next step is economics, right? This is what I hear you saying.
This is our pre-roll package for ones who wants to experience. So you see ganja.
Oh, that's pre-rolled.
Yeah. So ones who use ganja, I might not be able to roll. So ganja is something that we want to pay close attention to.
Right.
What we're coming with is the conscious use of ganja.
And I want to talk about that, the conscious use of ganja, because I know that you particular and the House of Siba, that you're concerned, very, very concerned about the conscious use of ganja.
So our ancestors used ganja for a better life experience on earth. That was the main use why our ancestors and our ancients used ganja. Ganja brings us to a meditative state. And that's where, so everything in this room was once a thought before it became reality.
Yes.
The camera, everything was once a thought before it became reality. And ganja brings us to that state. And whether we like it, yes or no, our thoughts become our reality. So what we want to do when we using ganja is create conscious intentions. Don't just light up a spliff when you're upset, or light up a spliff in a party listening to negative music. We want to go back to the ceremonial use of this plant, where if you and your brother have an argument and you're going to burn a spliff, don't just light up that spliff. Create a conscious intention that you want to fix the relationship between you and your brother. That way when you go into meditation or your thoughts, you have a knee pain, you can use a spliff. Start visualizing yourself without this knee pain. So when you use this spliff, so we want to use ganja instead of just smoking ganja. So that's what we want to promote to with people, that ganja, we have the key to all our problems in our hand. And we're using it unconsciously. We need to do some research on ganja, go back to where it is coming from, look at Rastafari before 1963. 1963 was the destruction of what Rastafari was doing. We want to revisit those things and go back to why we use ganja. It wasn't a fun tool or something to feel nice. It's a tool for...
So you're concerned about how ganja is being used, the misuse, and even in some cases the abuse of ganja, but there needs to be a return to the source of why Rastafari used ganja, how ganja was used, and for what. And I hear you saying that the effects then would be positive, for meditation, for positive thinking. But you also said just now that if you are angry and you go use ganja, you're saying that there is a negative response, if you will.
As you say, your thoughts become reality whether you like it, yes or no.
Yeah.
This is not that something that any I and I can decide. Your thoughts become reality. So when you're using ganja, make sure your thoughts is something positive, something that you want to become your reality.
You'll hear much more about that as Jabali and myself participate in this project. We'll talk about it some more. Rasta Bali, just before we go to the break, we mentioned the farmers just now, because one of the things that the House of Siba is doing is including the wider community. And so there is a connection with people who are producing it at different levels. And the House of Siba itself, you mentioned earlier, and also Mama, Don Mama mentioned this, distribution, the extent to which you are involved in the distribution aspects of things to facilitate the economics of Rastafari.
Yes, so going forward, even after the hurricane, we the distribution space that we had, we extended to make it a little more larger, to facilitate more product from other Rastafari brethren and sisters. We started a distribution company called House of Siba Sacred Space Limited that will distribute all Rastafari products across the island and across the globe. Ones and ones who are interested. We have an upcoming event called Tafari Fridays. I think this Friday is the launch. I would say the events department is planning that. Tafari Fridays now is a space where we're inviting all creatives to come out and set up a table and display your product while we're doing Rastafari reasonings. We're playing cultural music. And so we're giving ones and ones a chance to come and be a part of, the making of some money.
There you go. I just love that, the making of some money. Because the next step, as we said, and we have been saying, is economics. As we look back, 60 years after, the next step, economics and rights. A quick break. Since we have just about 8 minutes, Rasta Jabali and Don Mama, Empress Malia Siba, let us have the phone. Let's have the team who are in the house with you just talk about what they do within the organization, because it is also that, and what their work entail. I will start with the one closest to you. Just pass the mic. Oh yeah, who do we have here? Yes, go ahead.
As I said before, I am Empress Lovai.
Greetings, sis.
And I am with the House of Siba from the start. So I have a little knowledge of what the development area, that what the development have to do. I am part of the Integrity Commission that see that whatever Osaf Siba said that he's going to do, whether in the future or far future, I am here to see that all those things that he make a promise of.
Wow.
He's been held accountable.
Wow. I got my sister, I'm full of goose pimples around here.
Yes, I am part of that.
I'm head of race. Honestly.
Yes.
This is phenomenal. Wow.
Yes, So
yes.
I make sure that the promise that he made to the Rastafari community.
Wow.
He has to fulfill his obligations.
Yes.
So, he talk about development. He has to make sure that he goes through that according to the reasoning that I and I have.
Yes.
And it is also on paper. It's not just a word of mouth thing.
Right.
So it is on paper that you have to sign and see that you declare yourself in that manner.
Goodness
to help the community.
Listen.
So, I am here for that.
Integrity Commission.
Yes.
We are going to have to talk about that another time, my brother Jabali and Empress Mama.
Greetings
Mama.
again.
Yes,
Sorry.
who do we have here?
I am Gamla Seba, as said before.
Yes.
And I am Dan Mama's personal assistant, where our main focus is...
Okay, hold the mic just a little bit closer. Yes, good.
Yes, where our main focus is to help couples conceive the naturopathic way and, the herbal way, the healthier way, the better way.
Okay.
Yes.
And what does that include?
So, as you know, the consultation has to be done.
Right.
And after they go through their consultation, we make their herbs based on their issues and their personal,
Yes.
struggles, and we help couples, and we help the males and the females to conceive, and...
Empress Don Mama, what's the... talk to us a little bit about that, because
Let me touch on that little.
Yes, all right, go ahead,
So,
Rasta Bali.
As we say, one of the main things that also Siba is really see where the issues are and attack them directly. That don't really talk about them.
Yes.
So one of the biggest problems that we have is our food. The food that the people eat because of the dirty lies and the chemicals is the main problem. If you see our Prime Minister talking about now is infertility in male and female. The rum special, we don't want to fight nobody think online still, but it's causing what you call it when the man them can't write
Erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, the man them can't write so good. So, as Rastafari, obviously we have the Medina.
It's just what he said.
We have the Medina here. So, as Rastafari, we have different herbs that can reverse all of that.
The Medina.
Right. So
hold up the Medina, let me see there. Oh, because now you have packaged the Medina.
Yes. So we have it ground, we have it grounded, and we have it dried. And then upon your request, we can create a tea from it.
Yes.
For individuals.
Yeah, because we know this over the many, many moons that Medina is good for erectile dysfunction.
Yes. So
but over the years, we've been telling people, okay, so careful how you break the Medina, careful how you pick it, make sure you know how to boil the tea. But you have packaged it, and one of the things that you're doing is also giving consultation on this as to how to use it, how much to use, when to use, and so on.
Yes. So Dan Mama can touch a little more.
Yeah, go ahead, Don Mama. We're almost out of time, and the thing is just getting
let me
exciting.
just wrap up. Yes. So basically, a consultation is done firstly, just so I'm able to know age, underlying issues, potential things that may be impacting why you're not having your full erection in the morning, why you're not rising with the sun, and all of that. So the food, and not just the food, but also just overall life.
Yes.
Life itself, stressful situations and all of that can rupture a female's hormonal balance. And because of that, then obviously she's going to have missed periods, PCOS, hormonal issues, and ultimately infertility. So we never stop learning. Bottom line. We've never stopped learning. We always push to learn more just so we can educate our baby mothers, as I call them, more and more. And we've been doing well. As the Rastafari community, helping females and males get their children, everybody who is listening now, they can Google Dan Mama. We've been doing very, very well.
Brilliant. All right, who else do you have? Do you have? Yes.
Yes. Greetings.
Greetings again, my brother.
Yes, this is Rasamian. Yes, I'm the person who is responsible for the drumming era in the organization of Siba. That's when we have functions, when we have gathering meetings. I man make sure that the drumming era is always balanced, to uplift the spirit of Rastafari, save me,
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And I also agree to teach the young youth about drumming,
And this is important, isn't it? Because the disrespect of the drum is such a spiritual tool for us, and more than a tool, it's spiritually connected to us as African people and Indigenous people. That this is critical. So what are some of the things you tell young people about the drums from a spiritual perspective?
Yes, they know that the drumming is not a really plain thing. The drumming is like an instrument to connect with our ancestors, and it's also a weapon to lick down evil from high and low places,
Sacred weapon,
yes. So the drumming have 3 bases of it, where we have the funde, the bass, and the repeater. Yes, so we have to know how to put them in harmony, to commune and invoke our ancestors together around us, because the same sound that we create is the same sound that our ancestors used to create. Same way, so we just carry on the works, All
right, listen, I'm completely out of time. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to take one more person, right? One more person, yeah. Who do we have? Yes, greetings, my brother, quickly.
Bless up, family.
Yeah.
Bless up.
Bless up.
Yeah, give thanks and praise, say, Buzz. You come say, Buzz of the light, See it?
Yes.
Me and Vian, keep the function going. That I see anything that Buzz is there. That I see.
All right.
That I keeper. That I see landlord. That I see Wasman. All these things. Buzz.
Beautiful. Buzz Jabali, I give 30 seconds. Buzz Jabali. Yeah, give thanks, Elder. Give thanks, Buzz.
Yes, I saw. Maybe 30 seconds.
Yes.
Throughout one of our trialist times in Rastafari, our people wrote to His Majesty back in the 60s. His Majesty sent to us a church and a government.
Yeah.
I am taking from that His Majesty saw that only self-governance just could save us from what we were going through. So at this time, I'm imploring our people to start with governance of yourself, Sovereignty is a serious word that a lot of ones are using. The word government, the word govern means to rule over. The word ment is a French word for mind. So we need sovereign government. I mean, you need to take control of your own mind. So one need to start governing their own family, their own life. See to it that you have food on the table, and then that can now filter. So I want the people to focus on self-governance. Be more government of yourself. Look out for yourself. So don't burn Babylon, then you depend on Babylon to provide food for you.
Put ourselves in charge of ourselves.
Focus on ourselves in this time and His Majesty. His Majesty word, songs and teaching is the key to all the situation we're going through. I think I say that every time I come here.
Every time.
Give thanks.
Give thanks, Rasta Bali and the team, Empress Don Mama and the team. Thank you so much for coming in. And I invite you back in short order. You know that. We always like when you are in studio with us. And you're going to be hearing much more, by the way, from the House of Siba. Your boy, what a reunion and a get-together and a lovely time that we're having in the studio. You just miss all we in the House of Siba. The brethren, them just a hug up and the sister and we just a hug up, and just thankful to be back together in the same space after many months. Safe travel to the House of Siba as you move out. And they've left a really beautiful fragrance in the place. It's going to linger for a while. Thank you so much, House of Siba. All right, let me just quickly tell you that the Fire family are celebrating the life of a legend, Queen Mama Fire, on April 30 at 11 a.m., starting at 11 a.m. And this will be in Portland, at the Rastafari Indigenous Center, White Rock in Buff Bay, Portland. Food and refreshments on sale. Lots of artists will be passing through, paying tribute to the legend Mama Fire, and libation to the ancestors will happen there also. So you're invited to come out and help celebrate the life and work of a Queen Mother, the Fire family, celebrating Queen Mama Fire on April 30 at 11 a.m. in Portland at the Rastafari Indigenous Center. Food and refreshment on sale. So I'm not seeing it means that you can just go and have, because admission is free. Right, that's what I was looking for. Admission is free. In the 60 years after, is Ross Ivy here? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, is he in Studio B? No? All right. So let's bring Ross Ivy to Studio B. All right, so 60 years after the visit of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie to Jamaica, we're looking back to go forward. And as I said before, overarching theme, where do we go from here? Rastafari reflecting to go forward 60 years after the visit. So in this segment, we're going to be speaking to two very special guests who will be telling us about the activities, some of the activities that are planned for the 60th. My beautiful sister Mitzi Williams, and Dr. Michael Barnett joining me on the phones. Now, it's not often we get Sister Mitzi on a program, so we're always very, very, very happy when she's on. She is a secretary of the Nyabingi Council. She is a long-standing member of Rastafari, the Rastafari community, and she plays an integral role in its communications. She's a trained communications professional. She's also affiliated with the Bob Marley Foundation, contributing to its initiatives that support cultural preservation and community development. And Dr. Michael Barnett, no stranger to the space also. He's a lecturer in the Faculty of Social Sciences at the University of the West Indies. He's a respected researcher whose work focuses on Rastafari, identity, and Caribbean social dynamics. And I think that in Studio B, we have from the Nyabingi House, our brother Ras Ayavi. Ras Ayavi, let me go to you first and foremost. Welcome, my brother. I know you set out a long time ago, but I'm very happy that you got here, because it happens from time to time, where you give yourself a time to reach, and who knows, you've got a tire blowing out on the road. So we know that's the only reason why you're coming in at this time. I hope that you're okay. It wasn't a very serious situation with the tire, Ras Ivy?
No, are you hearing me?
Yes, hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, no, it wasn't just that the road is so bad.
Yeah.
That I'm traveling at that hour of the night, you know.
Right.
And to get up before 3 o'clock, try to leave by 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, I've been here for a good time.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Welcome, Akwaba. Good to have you. I didn't know you were you were here.
Yeah, I've been here for a good time when even before Negos. I came here before Negos.
Really?
Yeah, man. I thought you knew. So
No.
I was in the waiting and.
No, I just found out. No, I'm so sorry.
I've been here for a good time.
Apologies about that. Very happy to have you.
I don't know if I came in a little after 7, maybe about 10 minutes after 7.
Is that so? I'm so sorry because I kept hearing that you were going to be the only one who would come in the studio, but I didn't know you actually got here. So anyway, good to have you still. You're on at the same time with Sister Mitzi and Dr. Michael Barnett. But let me just talk to you quickly before I go to Sister Mitzi and Dr. Barnett, which is to say that so I'm sure then, did you get a chance to hear the conversation we had with Dr. Karida MacDonald and when we're talking about the constitutional law and rights and talking a little bit about what has happened in St. Kitts and how this is being viewed on the ground in Jamaica, but what is the reality, the isness of what the reality with Rastafari is, and your own response to all of that, Ras IRV. Let me start with you there.
Thanks for asking me that question. I didn't hear all what she said, but I know what is going on. And based on what I heard, and even in discussion, and even from my own experience, you know, and comparing what was said from a Jamaican point of view by the minister with what is going on in St. Kitts and Nevis, I fully agree with what she said.
You agreed with what she said?
I know what had been said because we have had discussion on many occasions. And over the years, we've been talking about, you know, the situation, because it doesn't make sense you're putting things on paper, but you're not implementing it. And you're not ensuring that what you put on paper, what is on paper, is being implemented, you know? And when you compare what has been entrenched in law, I mean, it's just recently, so we don't know what is the actual thing happening on the ground. But at least it is entrenched in law, where in Jamaica it tends to be left up to discretion of headmaster, headmistress, board, police. No, we want all the grey areas to be moved, and the police know that, for example, when you see a Rastaman with herb, if you don't see him package it like you want to export it, you're leaving. When our children with dreadlocks go to school, you shouldn't be writing letters and so on and so on. You don't do that for the Catholic and the Anglican and so on.
Yes.
So, you know, these are rights that we want to ensure and guarantee that they are there, but we ensure enjoying those rights, you know.
So where do we go from here then? Because, you know, just listening to the conversation this morning that we had, I mean, it's obviously we're seeing some movement, because I've been having these discussions over many years, so we're seeing some movements, but it's almost as if the more things change, the more they remain the same, because what Rastafari and the RMO in particular is calling for now is a Rastafari Act and for the entrenchment that you're talking about, but there seems to be no movement on that. What will it take to get some movement on that?
Well, one, more dialogue with even the wider Rastafari community, but I think there are enough one different houses, mansion organization within RMO to call for that. But at the same time, in calling for that and working towards that, it can take the unity, the unity, the togetherness, the mobilization of the Rastafari community supported by our people in order to ensure and guarantee that what is written is implemented. So all of this, I am looking at organizational structure, how important it is. Not just as I say, we sit in an office and we have representatives, but we go out there and mobilize our people. No different from when the politicians going out there to organize and mobilize people, you know. These are the things I look for, you know, to put the pressure and the system that you realize that if you don't do certain things that is interested in the people, tomorrow this, the country can lock down, for 2-3 days, because we've been talking, we've been writing letters, we've been begging these people. They don't have any concern for Rastafari and our grassroots suffering people. So unless we can mobilize and organize, not from a no violent point of view, not like what Sam Sharp and Paul Bogle did, but with the same, intent that changes must come one way or the other. That's how I see it.
So what next then? As we heard, Dr. Kirita said just now, there is a call to the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry. Is there a Ministry of Constitutional Affairs still?
There are times, Cabo, when we have to take the street. That is how I see it. We have to take the street, and I'm very supportive because we used to do it.
Yeah, because we did it. We did it in 2015 for the march against an unjust justice system, calling for reparations for the Coral Gardens massacre.
Yeah, 2013.
It was 2013, right?
Yeah, 2013 when we did the 50th. And again, give thanks to IRF and give thanks to you, Cabo, Moot, and all the support that we got from IRFM. But again, you look at what the Coral Garden Benevolent Society has been going through, how they have been talking to the government, and it talk about community reparation. It's just recently that 2 lots of land have been given to the.
But that is an insult to Rastafari.
Yes, but at the same time, look how long it took.
That's a very good point.
Right.
For 2 lots.
Yes.
But it better them to keep the 2 lots, if as far as I am concerned.
Come again?
It better them to keep the 2 lots.
Look, this thing, I'm not going to say that honestly.
I know you're not going to say it. I just said it.
Right. But just look at the thing that I'm sure most of the 13 points that have been recommended to the government had not been implemented. You know what I mean? So we can talk about promise and we can talk about, but I am for mobilization.
Yes. You
understand me? Put pressure on the system to make it know that we are very serious. Look at the ganja issue. For 11 years since the amendment, Rasta people still being locked up, grassroots people still being locked up. Just other day, the minister talking about the inclusion of grassroots people in the ganja industry. I've been saying that for years, being on the board, being off the board. I've been saying that to you for years, that you have locked out the people who have suffered to keep this industry alive.
The writing was on the wall, yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so much injustice, Cabo, that we have to get up and fight.
It is still an unjust justice system. There's still a lot of injustices and inequities in the system. And but you know, as we reflect on 60 years after His Majesty visited Jamaica, I think that it is also another material manifestation point, because in our history and in the fight for liberation, 60 years is just a blip. That once again the revivifying to reflect and to reassure and to reassert in terms of what the rights that are being asked for are demanded, because sometimes we have to take it, demand it and take it, and and how you go about doing that. I heard you say just now that once again we have to take to the street. Beyond taking to the streets, what are some of the other strategies that Rastafari is involved in right now in this struggle still for liberation and for justice?
Well, I give thanks for the question, because looking back at 60 years, I think we've come a far way in comparison to what the situation was in 1966 and even before. But there's still a far way to go.
Yes.
So, in terms of specifics, take for example, from an IABING point of view, there are certain things that, just like Jabal was explaining, there are certain things that when we came up as youth within the Rastafari community, it either never existed or it was rare. But like the baton have to pass on, and each generation have to build on what you know, they came and saw.
Yes.
So even, for example, my generation, I came in as a youth, as a teenager in Nyabingi. I am now considered an ancient, as an elder. So it is for us to shape whatever organization or structure that we find ourselves in, shape it in the way that we know it can achieve its aim and objective. And also looking at other houses and mansion and organization. And I give thanks for the RMO, because I have been a part of that process from 1987 with the EIUC, the RCO, the Millennium Council. So having the RMO, it's obvious that we cannot sit still and operate in a disintegrated or a disunited manner and expect to achieve our objective. So we are building, but we are far in terms of recognizing what to do than we were years ago. And so I see.
And I think St. Kitts and Nevis, I think we cannot allow the narrative that says Jamaica was ahead of St. Kitts and Nevis to take root, because what that does is to sabotage and to stymie the struggle for the rights and for the liberations, the movement for constitutional and law rights, a movement to get the Rastafari Act in place and so on. If we go to the point to say that we were ahead of St. Kitts, because we really are not ahead of St. Kitts.
No, we are not. We are not. And I can tell you, Cabo, that having, you know, been going into the Eastern Caribbean for years upon years, I can tell you, when you look at Antigua, when you look at St. Kitts, in the first place, this youth mother is a Rasta woman.
Yes.
So he naturally would have seen the atrocities, you know, carried out against the Rasta.
That's right. We heard him crying. In making the announcement, he was crying.
Yes, because anybody, just like how when we used to do the Coral Garden, you know,
yes.
Here, it brought tears from
people are always crying.
Over,
yes,
you know?
yes.
Because you can't imagine some people being wicked, a system being as wicked. But just going back to the Eastern Caribbean, in that in Antigua, the first set of individual, the first entity, company or whatever, that got license to plant herb was the Rastafari community. The first license given in Antigua was the Rastafari community.
Who got the first license in Jamaica?
The first license, I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying that they don't have any Rasta people, but in terms of the community, that's a different thing. And for those traditional Rastaman and traditional grassroots farmers, they are locked out of the community. So there's a difference. I remember again in Antigua, some youth used to, you know, go and steal herb from the brethren them in our place in Fremont Village. And what the government did, the government put soldiers up there to protect the Rastaman them herb. You know, so there's a lot of recognition and respect given into the Eastern
So Ras Abbey, what would you want to say to Minister Grange? And I know you've all been saying it, but in this space, to Minister Grange, bearing in mind especially her response to what has happened in St. Kitts and understanding that St. Kitts is way ahead of Jamaica in this context.
Again, give thanks, because I have had dialogue with, you know, the minister quite a few occasions.
Well, look in the camera in front of you and just say something. Say to the minister what, because say that publicly for all of us.
I will say to the minister, like I said before, she has gotten it wrong. And whether it's for political mileage or personality, that's not the case, because we still suffer from police harassment, not brutality, but police harassment. As Rastafari, our children are still being locked out of the school. So Minister Grange needs to ensure that she and the government get their act clear where the rights of Rastafari people is concerned, because to say things or to have things on paper and these things are not implemented to ensure and guarantee the protection of Rastafari rights, to make that statement is a very fraudulent one.
Ras Ivy, my brother, thank you so much for coming in. Both of us were traveling long hours this morning. We up about the same time and we've been traveling about the same time. And I'm thanking you for making that trek, even when you had challenges on the road. And once again, our apologies that we didn't recognize that you were actually on the
thanks
compound.
for having me, and just
Yes.
continue burning the fire, because we need it,
Yes.
We need it. And our people have been too silent for quite a long time, and the Rastafari community to Cabo had been too silent. Now, I'm a Rastaman, but we are too
It's a moment of silence. Let me defend you and the Rastafari community. It's a moment of silence because Rastafari has been the voice for justice and the movement.
I'm not satisfied with where we are now.
I know.
Where we're supposed to be,
We never get weary yet. Down in the valley for a very long time, but we never get weary yet.
All right, thanks.
Ivy, thank you so much, my brother. Come on here, sir. Come call to me when you come out of this, sir.
All right.
Yeah, man. Come say hi around here, sir.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's take a quick break. So my brethren Ivy joined me around here, so Ivy, you see this? See that? We're going to do this for Pastor. Just see them. Right, so, but you know this already, though. I mean, I have to tell you about this.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I remember one time
good.
I was on the program, I remember I said,
What?
you boast the name Cabo,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Tell me where you go again. Remind me.
Well, and in an interview, I don't remember what we were discussing.
Yes.
But then, it was when the name was just coming
Right.
into
You
being.
insist on it.
Yeah, but
Yes.
referring to you that
Yes,
way.
because people find it hard to do it, and you were always...
And then you said to me, Ivy, you boast that name Cabo, So,
What good. Yeah, man. Thank you, Ivy. And safe travel back.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. Give thanks.
All right.
Give thanks. All right. We're gonna go. Yes. Right. So and Michael Barnett.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. So yes. Give thanks, Ivy. Safe travel back. Your tire fix good?
I have the stay here next driving on for the time being, but when they go more they can go.
Okay. Well, travel safely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. You know, you dress like a young boy, so Ivy, you want going? You dress like a young boy, so. Well, I look for it. Come listen. Listen, Ivy, trash it. You're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African. Thank you so much. We've come from for a long time. We know each other. Sister Mitzi is on, and Dr. Michael Barnett, and I know that they didn't mind just giving the space for a minute or so to Ras Ivy, who we didn't know was actually on the compound. Sister Mitzi, greetings, my sister. Turn the camera on, no, Sister Mitzi, come in and see you.
Greetings, Cabo, greetings, Running African family. I can't turn on my camera right now based on where I am. I apologize for that.
I was just teasing you on that, because the minute you didn't turn on already, I know you had no intention. All right, and Dr. Michael Barnett, I saw you before. Are you still there, Dr. Michael Barnett? All right. Yeah, I think Michael is still there. All right, but in the meantime, there you are. Greetings, Michael. How you do?
Yes, greetings, Sister Cabo. Yes,
All right.
ma'am. Yes, yes.
Sister Mitzi, 60 years after His Imperial Majesty touched down in Jamaica, we are remembering and Sankofaing, but asking where do we go from here? But in addition to that, there are quite a few things that have been planned, and this is what I'm going to be talking to you and Dr. Michael Barnett about. But first of all, just your reflection on where we are after 60 years after the visit of His Majesty. Just your reflection and maybe just comment on what you've heard so far.
Yes, my sister, greetings. First of all, I really want to give thanks, honoring our ancestors. And of course, I heard, remember, you mentioned Mama Fire and an event that will be held in our honor.
Yes.
So we're always so grateful for our beloved ancient matriarchs and patriarchs. Their journey, their sacrifice, their love has laid this foundation that we now stand on. And, with everything that we speak to in terms of our rights, we have to look back at what they went through, what they stood for, the principles that guided them, and everything, the philosophy and the liberty that they passed on to us to ensure our security, our collective security, as we stand on this foundation as Rastafari.
Yeah.
60 years, I was a child when His Majesty came to Jamaica, but we have certainly been impacted by the visit, the historic visit. We have heard about it since we were a child, and certainly the impact it had on African people in Jamaica,
Yes.
and especially on the movement that we call Rastafari in Jamaica. So, the struggle continues, as you said, and we never get weary yet. 60 years is still a short time within any movement,
Yes.
And the development of any people. So we give thanks for the message of organized and centralized that His Majesty gave to us, that we have not fallen, we have not dropped the baton. We continue to have this mission as our focus, even towards how we live in Jamaica and our movement through repatriation.
And so much of what Rastafari is now what the globe, it's global. I mean, not to mention Jamaica, even though it's a lot of cultural appropriation, but at the end of the day, we can identify the impact and the influence of Rastafari on the world. This is something that is significant that we cannot understate.
Kabu, I was just here when you were speaking to us, Ivy, especially earlier.
Yes.
That's what I was saying, that it's now a global conversation, that we don't have an isolated conversation anymore where we're speaking to ourselves. It takes a long time. St. Kitts, what happened in St. Kitts reached our ears and reached in our hands almost immediately.
Yes.
The conversation is going on the continent where reparatory justice, repatriation is being represented by our brothers and sisters there. We are connected. It's far more connectedness, and the conversation is now global. As you said, the representation is global. So we don't feel lonely at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a good place.
The struggle, of course, continues on the ground in Jamaica. And as I was saying to Ras IFB, that the gains are many, but at the same time, there are fundamental issues to be dealt with. And yes, we must celebrate the gains, and that's why it's so important to reflect, to look back, to see how far we've come, and to celebrate those gains, and to keep focus on what else needs to be done. It is one of the critical things I think that really needs to be done is what we had the RMO articulating earlier, which is now we're talking, even now. Again, we're talking about constitutional rights. We're talking about basic rights. We're talking about a Rastafari Act. This is a conversation that we should not necessarily be having at this time. But what I think, and let me ask you, what do you think how St. Kitts has impacted how this might move forward and how this should move forward?
Well, as the brethren and sistren have said before, and as I said a while ago, the struggle for our protection,
yes,
through law continues. And I think when a country, a small island like St. Kitts, and as Ras Ivy said, it has an intimate connection through a Rastafari family who have endured the injustices, within St. Kitts. It took someone like that to really step up to make that kind of bold representation. But we give thanks, I just don't want the government here to sit within that, and to misrepresent what is actually happening on the ground here in Jamaica. I think what it should do is to create a thrust to say, all right, let's look into this. We know what Rastafari has stood for. We know what Rastafari has demanded and represented. Let's make it right. Let's do the right thing.
And Dr. Michael Barnett, I know you have been listening. Your immediate response to what you have heard so far, and also reflect for a moment on the 60 year that we have in focus this morning.
Yes, good morning, Sister Kabu. Good morning to all the listeners out there in Radio Land and I guess internet and so forth. Well, my feelings, Sister Kabu, is that Rastafari should ideally be more respected right now in this year, I mean, we're 2026 and we're still fighting for recognition and rights and due respect under the law and all of this stuff, and it shouldn't be the case. And let me just say, reflecting on the visit of His Majesty now, some 60 years later, Haile Selassie himself, right, in my mind, legitimized the movement by awarding medals to certain key elders in the movement. At King's House, I mean, it couldn't be more obvious than that. No, he himself, an emperor, a black king, African king, showed you the respect he had for the Rastafari movement. I mean, what? We had Ras Shadrach, we had Prince Emmanuel, now known as King Emmanuel. We had Trevor Campbell, Ras Sam Brown, Ras Dizzy, Sam Clayton, Dougie Mack, and a whole host more. By my count, at least 12 Rastafari leaders were awarded medals. He had great respect for Rastafari movement. And that respect, though, has not carried forward. We still, as a movement, are not respected here in Jamaica, the birthplace of Rastafari. You go to Roots plays and all of that, and Rastafari is the butt of jokes and all of this kind of stuff. Why are we still in this situation decades later? I mean, in Jamaica, the birthplace of Rastafari, we should be respected more than in any other nation in the world. We're seeing St. Kitts being given all of these rights and all of this, legitimacy. We still don't have it. We're still struggling for rights, recognition, and respect. And as Ras Ayavi himself said, he's been stopped several times for transporting herbs, still today in 2026 when we're supposed to have sacramental rights. But they're not being recognized.
Sorry to interrupt you, Michael, but the thing that I have been looking at, that so this happened in St. Kitts. There was where St. Kitts recognized Rastafari in law within the Constitution. And what that meant and what that means for Rastafari in St. Kitts. But what I find interesting is that news stations, news media around Jamaica all responded to this by asking or getting, I don't know if there's a press release that was sent out, but quoting Minister Grange, saying that Jamaica was ahead of St. Kitts on this. And every Rastafari group, organization, house, mansion that I've spoken to say, has any news station reached out to you to get the Rastafari response? No one, no news organization, no journalist, no media, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, has reached out to the Rastafari to ask for your response and then to respond to what the minister has said.
Exactly.
That has not happened. I'm very, very concerned about it, and this is not why you are Mitzi on for this morning, Sister Mitzi. But I think that is a question that, as a journalist myself, I have to throw out there. The RMO released a press release last week. It happened in this program. It hasn't been picked up by any news organization. Not even IRFM's newsroom has picked up this, even though I have written personally to the newsroom twice to say that the Rastafari has responded to Minister Grange. It has not made IRFM news. And this is the thing that bothers me, that as we talk about respect for Rastafari, that even at this level, we see this playing out. I am really mad about it. But let me just move on, because there's some beautiful things happening on the 60th anniversary. So let me go to Sister Mitzi again to say, I lead off with you, Sister Mitzi, to say what are some of the things that are in train for the 60th anniversary of His Majesty's visit to Jamaica.
Yes, give thanks again, Kabu. For the 50th anniversary, we had a huge celebration, a national one, because we actually invited His Majesty's grandson, His Imperial Highness Prince Ernest Selassie, to visit, to help us to revisit that movement, with a member of the royal family. And we had a spectacular celebration at that time. So for the Diamond Jubilee, it won't be like that, but it's still going to be very important for us as a community to remind the nation of this historic visit in 1966.
Yes.
So we formed an organizing committee to ensure that we had things in place that could incorporate the community nationally and the people of Jamaica. because we also want it to be an educational moment. So the theme for this year is the 60th anniversary of the visit of Emperor Haile Selassie, a Rastafari memory, a Pan-African mission. This is Groundation Day, as you know, in Jamaica.
Yes.
So, like many years before, as in the 50th anniversary, we're having a motorcade that will take us to the Norman Manley International Airport to remember the moment there. We're going to assemble. We're going to meet at Rockfort Mineral Bath at around 9:30. We have ones coming in from the country as well. So from all over Jamaica, actually.
Yes,
so we're going to meet there to travel into the airport, where we will assemble in the car park as usual. This is always a moment of reverence, you know, where we will do our traditional drumming and chanting, but bring a solid message to the people and to the listeners. The airport staff there is always very excited about this, because a lot of people don't know what happened in 1966 in that space.
Yes.
You know, don't know that visit was unprecedented and still unparalleled in terms of its impact on the people of Jamaica.
Yes.
So we're going to have our usual drumming and chanting, but of course a message to the people. So, and after this, we're going to be moving in our motorcade to the legacy school, Haile Selassie High School, the educational legacy that was gifted to the people of Jamaica by His Imperial Majesty when he visited Jamaica. It is still the only institution named in his honor in the Western Hemisphere, and it's a very, very important part of the legacy of his visit. So they have their usual celebration there, celebrating the founder of the school. And this year is no different. And I think the school has a whole week of celebrations that they call Spirit Week.
Yeah, I think we're scheduled to have the principal on later on, but I'm not quite sure. The time is, we're really behind time with a lot of stuff. But go ahead and tell us a little bit of what's going to happen there, just in case we're not able to get around to her. But we hope to.
We're going there to incorporate ourselves in any way that we can.
Yes.
Just make our presence felt as Rastafari within the space, because, as I said, I know they have their program planned for the school.
All right.
And it's a very, very fulfilling program for the students. So we're going there as an observance and to have our presence there, because this is like a pilgrimage every year.
I know, yeah.
So after this, we will travel on a route that will take us past King's House, which is where the king was hosted in 1966, and then travel down Hope Road to Ranny Williams Center for a program that's dedicated to the theme, a Rastafari Memory, a Pan-African Mission, which will trace the history and the journey of Rastafari. We're going to have two very interesting panel discussions, 60 years after Rastafari well-being, health, healing, liberty amidst the challenges of Western life. This will deal with mental and spiritual health, healing the African mind, remembering that our ancients also emphasized the importance of our spiritual healing, you know, prior to our physical repatriation. We're also going to be discussing advancing the Pan-African Mission, reparations, repatriation, and Rastafari liberty. We're going to have presentations from the Haile Selassie School of Vision, because we want it to be a moment of unity for I, which it always is, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, the Bobo Shanti. We're going to have testimonies from ancient witnesses, bringing memories of the moment. You know, we give thanks for the presence of ones like Bongo Trevor, who is a living witness from the EWF Charter 37 at Law Street, who is one of the medal holders, probably, I think, the only living medal recipient when His Majesty came to Jamaica in 1966.
Wow.
We have a very special segment called I Wear that will honor and celebrate the dress code and identity of Rastafari through clothing. So this will showcase traditional clothing of I as a part of the preservation of our unique and very peculiar culture, you know. We're going to have musical selectors like Muta Baruka, Ailawi, And these are like icons within our musical space. You know, DJ Steamers as a young man. Muta will also be performing his poem, I Am the Man They Love to Hate, which is a very relevant expression of the journey of Rastafari,
Even
you know.
now,
So
even now, even now, still relevant.
no,
Yes.
very relevant.
Yes.
So another highlight of the celebration, Kabu, is that we're actually showcasing and bringing attention to 4 iconic albums that have carried the Rastafari liberation resistance message through ganja, you know, and it has also, they have also inspired and impacted I not only nationally but globally, and they're now celebrating 50 years of being released. These include Bob Marley's Rastaman Vibration,
Of course, yes.
Bunny Wailer's Black Heart Man,
That's
Peter
right.
Tosh's Legalize It, and Max Rumer's War in a Babylon.
Wow.
For this, we will be having family members of all these iconic artists performing in the space. So we think that this is very special, you know, bridging generations as well in the music. And of course, you know, we have, we're going to bring a message of unity, of organizing and centralizing as a grounding mandate of the movement, you know, a message and a mandate coming from His Majesty himself. But this will include a lot of what was spoken about this morning and a way forward for us after 60 years, you know.
Wow, it sounds really exciting. Yeah, go ahead.
Very special, we're bringing the Nyabingi into this space.
Yes.
So at 10 o'clock, we're going to start our traditional Nyabingi ceremony with our fire key, with our drums. You know, ones will be able to come there and learn a little bit more about our drums as and our chants, you know, and to participate and to full joy what this celebration means and how it is immersed in traditions that have been passed on for way over 60 years.
A very
You know,
long itinerary. Yes.
So we're calling on all ones, you know, to join us in this space, to come and full joy this experience with I
And the
celebrate.
space, and tell us where the space is. Tell us where the space is again.
Tell you.
No, I think you did, but I just want you to repeat. Yes.
Okay, so it's the Louis Bennett Garden Theatre, which is actually located in the Ronnie Williams Center Complex.
Okay.
So we're going to be having artisans that will showcase and be selling things that are connected to us, you know, things that are a part of our creation journey as Rastafari. Because Rastafari didn't create because of oppression, we created because we're natural creators. So not being able to get a job, our ancients brought out their creativity. So they made their clothing and they made the things that were relevant to their space through coconut, calabash, and natural things. You know, we're hoping to have ones like Mama G, who is a part of our Tuesday Kabu. Tuesday, this is where we're going to focus.
It's in Tuesday. Let's just say this is Tuesday. We're talking today, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday. Yes, go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
So very quickly now. So that is Tuesday, and a lot is going to be happening on Tuesday, right through into the night. But very importantly, on the Wednesday, the day after, at the Bob Marley Museum Cinema Complex at 6 o'clock to 8. That's April 22nd. We'll be showing the documentary of the 50th anniversary celebration we had here that featured Prince Amias and Princess Saba. So it's the feature-long documentary, almost 2 hours long.
Okay.
But relive that experience. That will be the following day.
Okay.
After the events on Monday, which will be packed, as Sister Mitzi said. That's going to go right up to 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the night on the Monday at Ronnie Williams
On
Center.
the Monday or the Tuesday?
There's a lot. Sorry, on the Tuesday. Thank you.
Tuesday.
Everything starts on the Tuesday, which is the 21st. The film screening is on the Wednesday evening. And then you will learn more about what's going on with the school, because they're going right through till Friday with their events when the principal comes on.
All right.
Yeah?
It
So
sounds
they're not
really
sure.
exciting,
Yeah.
and you can keep listening to
So-
IRFM over the course of Monday to hear much more about what's going down there. Sister Mitzi, just before you both go, quickly with you, Sister Mitzi, I know that we've been talking about Hurricane Melissa and the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa and what the Rastafari RMO has been doing. I would know that you didn't come to talk about what the Bob Marley Foundation is doing, but I asked you quickly because I know the Bob Marley Foundation has also done some really great work and continue to do some great work in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa.
Well, definitely, Kabu, from day one, our CEO, Sidela Marley, is someone that stays very locked into news in Jamaica. So it doesn't take a hurricane for her to respond. She's always there. She watches the news and she activates in relation to giving support. So the Bob and Rita Marley Foundation really did a lot in relation to Hurricane Melissa response, especially support given to the elders in our community at the Rastafari Corrigan's Benevolent Society Elders Home. We paid a visit there where we gave out food packages, and this spread through St. James, Trelawney, and Westmoreland. So elders were assisted at that level and continue to be assisted in many ways. When we did our recent Marley for Education meetings.
I think we're losing you. Did we lose Sister Mincy there? All right, well, we heard her loud and clear in terms of what has happened and what continues to happen at the Bob and Rita Marley Foundation. Michael, thank you so much. Sister Mitzi, great work as usual. Both of you are doing in the wider Jamaica, but specifically within the Rastafari. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. And Mitzi, Sister Mitzi, I hope you're hearing us. Love you, sis, as usual. Thank you so much for the work, and thank you for coming on. We have to take a quick break. Over time. All right. So is Vas Jelani now? Jelani, are you on as Bongo I on Zoom? I'm not sure. Let me just check to see if that's Jelani. Is he in the room? I'm not sure. Because I know my brother in Jelani, he probably calls himself Bongo I on Zoom. You probably know there is a lot. All right. And because we're working as usual, Peter Broadbent and myself are the entire team. Shanice, of course, part of a team. Not there? All right. Ras Jelani, is that you, Dr. Jelani Naya? No? Okay. I'm not hearing. All right. So who do we have on Zoom? We do have somebody in Zoom. It's Bongo I. Okay. So who's Bongo I? Good morning, Bongo I. How you doing? Okay. No, we're not getting it. All right, so we're still gonna wait. It's Jelani, but we're not hearing him. Oh, he's not in yet. All right, so while he comes in, let me show you the book. Can I just go ahead and do this now, Peter? All right, so this is edited by Michael Barnett with a foreword by Rex Nettleford. Rastafari in the New Millennium. This is one book that you can get to read. I think you should try and read this. We do a lot of reading, and from time to time, we include some of these books in our Running African Book Club. So this is one, and here is another. What's good about this is that I have interviewed our brother Eichel Tafari, Dr. Eichel Tafari, many, many times. Rastafari in Transition, the Politics of Cultural Confrontation in Africa and the Caribbean, 1966 to 1988. Eichel Tafari, forward by Professor Barry Chevons. So here you go. Let me show you that. Okay, where do I put it? Here? Okay, there you go. Okay, Rastafari in Transition. That's another one, a good book to read. Remember that and because we're streaming live, you can also watch this on YouTube and Facebook, and I probably should talk slower for the listeners who are listening on the 107s. All right, so here's another book that I really like, The Book of Memory, A Rastafari Testimony, composed by Prince Elijah Williams, edited by Michael Kulka. Now, the thing about this book is that you see, I'm not up read this book, and this is such an ancient letter, because it is a letter that came with the book that Michael wrote me in 2004. And Michael is no longer with us. And he said, greetings, dear Andrew Williams Green, that was the name them days. Greetings anew. Encloses book of memory, a Rastafari testimony, which will be released on January 7, 2005. What you saw last May was a pre-publication version. I have corrected the errors in the text and added a few new photos. And he goes on to talk about the work that we have done together, Coral Gardens and so on. So here you go. Book of Memory, a Rastafari testimony. It's a good book because it's written in the voice of Rastafari elder Elijah Williams. So if you can find this, it's a good book to get also. And I have a lot, but I don't know, I can probably use one more. Rastafari in the 21st Century, Volume 1, Tribute to the Rastafari Elders, written by Priest Douglas Smith, Ijabalani Tafari. There you go. It's also a very good one. And there's so many others. I didn't carry Professor Horace Campbell's book, which is Rastafari and Resistance, I think. Is it Rastafari and Resistance? Rastafari and Transition. Yeah, Rastafari and Resistance, Professor Horace Campbell. That's also a very, very good one. All right, so there you go. All right, thank you so much. Do we have Dr. Jelani Nair yet? My brother, Dr. Jelani Nair, are you there? No, I'm not seeing or hearing him. But I think he is by now, reminding you that the Fire family is celebrating the life of a legend, Queen Mama Fire, on April 30. And then remember also that the celebration and the activities for the 60th anniversary celebration of the visit of His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor Haile Selassie, to Jamaica, taking place all of Tuesday from the airport all the way to the Louise Bennett Garden Theatre. All right. Do we have Ras Jelani? No? Who do we? Oh, I think we do have the principal of the Haile Selassie High School with us online. And let me just say good morning, Principal. Good morning, good morning. How are you doing, my sister?
Good morning. I am here with the chair of our steering committee, Mrs. Bent. Morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Bent, chair of the steering committee. Good to see you both. You're looking really lovely. Thank you so much for coming on. I just like how you're both sharing that one little phone screen.
Yeah,
but thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in. And we listen. I know because just in the interest of time, I'm just going to go straight into it of what the plans are that are going to be happening at the Haile Selassie High School on a Tuesday. So let's start with that immediately, just because we are literally out of time.
Okay, right now we are at the Ethiopian Orthodox Church worshiping. Hence the reason that we are.
Right. Yes, yeah, you're looking good.
Yeah. Right. So what we're doing now is we are starting with prayer because we bear the name of a Christian king, and we never want to lose fact. We don't want to lose the fact that we must start and end everything with worship.
Yes.
On Tuesday, we celebrate the Diamond Jubilee, or the 60th anniversary celebrations of His Imperial Majesty visiting Jamaica. And of course, we have other activities for the week.
Yes.
So Wednesday we have a reasoning session where where different influential young people and otherwise will be coming in to do like one-on-one pull-out session with our girls and boys. On Thursday we have our first Haile Selassie lecture, right?
Okay, the very first one. The very first one.
Very first one.
Okay.
First of many.
Yes, I know. I can just imagine. But I thought, okay, great. So the first lecture, that's happening when? On Wednesday?
On Thursday.
On Thursday. Okay, who's
1 to 3 o'clock. So on Thursday, 1 to 3 o'clock at the Institute of Jamaica, we'll be pausing to ensure that there's accurate information about His Imperial Majesty and his philosophy of education. And especially now when we're looking to how education can provide self-reliance and opportunities for not only economic success, but spiritual growth as well. It's important for us to stop and get accurate information. Now, there is always this conversation about whether or not we're a Rastafarian school, or what do we believe in and what do we stand for. We want to have the conversation and have that clarified 1 to 3 o'clock at the Institute of Jamaica on Thursday. On Tuesday, we are so happy that not only will we be celebrating His Imperial Majesty's visit, but we have a couple of surprises on Tuesday as well, because we are going to be unveiling the founder's stone that was laid 60 years ago when he actually visited. Yes, we have a couple of other surprises that we'll be unveiling. And then, of course, we have to end with music. So we want to big up artists like Carbon, the hard one, David Slur, Aisha Bell. We may have Rastakura passing through, and of course our headliner, Sizzla
Kalonji.
Yes. So
I'm going to fix it for you because you're a church, so you can't do the Kalonji. So I just did it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds really, really good. That's an entire week of activities.
Yes.
Okay. So church. So listen. I understand. So now we have a whisper. Okay. No, I won't keep you much longer. I realize that you do have to get back to service. But once again, just to say, it's an entire week of activities, right? Starting when?
We have started today with worship. Tomorrow in the evening, 7 p.m. now, we are in Trenchtown doing Inner City Dub, where we'll be celebrating the life of persons who would have given their energy to Black upliftment. And we're doing that Monday evening. And then on Tuesday is the big day, Groundation Day. And that's at Haile Selassie. We start at 8 in the morning with our worship, again with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. We have an amazing author who is going to be our keynote speaker. He's also an educator. Okay. And that's important. And then, of course, 1 to 3 Tuesday.
Who's the keynote?
Ansel Palmer. Our keynote speaker is Ansel Palmer, principal of Low River. He's just published a book on the Rastafari movement and its impact.
Okay, brilliant. I know that name.
Yes, you do.
I probably know him by another name, but Ansel Palmer making a lot of sense to me.
Yes. And then in the afternoon on Tuesday, we have a free concert with an amazing lineup, and it's absolutely free.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. And the students are looking forward to this, I'm sure, but it's open to the public, right? Is it open to the public?
Open to the public.
Okay.
Come on down to 16 to 24 Payne Avenue and celebrate with us. So on Thursday, we have our first lecture at the Institute of Jamaica from 1 to 3. And we have the likes of Dr. Michael Barnett, sociologist. We have Sister Mitzi. Sister Mitzi from the Bob Marley Foundation. We have none other than Dr. Jelani Naya.
Dr. Jelani Naya.
And we have Ketis Ayande with us. So you know the panel is going. And it's being moderated by Stephen Golding, president of the UNIA.
You've got a really, really phenomenal team. That sounds all good. All good. All good.
I want to pause, though, to say thank you to Sandra and the rest of the team. They've really done an amazing job of owning our culture and ensuring that our partnerships continue. But as a school, we start to take ownership of what we are about and who we are and push that forward.
I'm so excited to meet you and to have this conversation. I think you were down here before because Michael told me that you were at the Marcus Garvey High. So
can you imagine?
And we saw the work that you did there. Don't it? Your journey. Each generation must discover its mission, fulfill it or betray it. And here you are, fulfilling your mission. So thank you so much for the work that you continue to do, for the change that you're making in schools as you go across Jamaica. Thank you to your team, and we'll see you all of next week. This is the first day of the week, so we'll see you next 2 days' time, right?
Yes.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday too? So it's Wednesday,
Thursday is a donation day. Tuesday is the big day.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All right. Thank you so much, my sisters. Have a good one at church.
Blessings.
And I do think that we've got Dr. Jelani Naya for the last 15 minutes of the program. Dr. Jelani Naya, thank you so much.
Greetings, my sister Kabu.
There you are. You know, I've said to them, we are looking for Dr. Jelani Naya to come up on the screen. But if you see Bongo I, it's him. So thank you. There you are, looking great as usual. Listen, man,
I'm
welcome.
going to use Sister Mitzi's no camera, but I may have to turn my camera off because I'm on the roadside.
Okay, all right.
The Wi-Fi, yeah.
Well, let us, and so I'm going to use the time wisely that we've got, considering that you're having Wi-Fi problems, and I can see that because you're sticking and so on. But if you're still there, I know you've been listening all morning. I want you to help us to put this in context. But before you do that, talk to us about the significance of this visit of His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor Haile Selassie, to Jamaica in 1966, April 21.
Yeah, man, give thanks, and I am honored to be among this really august representation of the community. I want to recognize the youthful energy, the young people, because House of Siba is not an old man. I want people to know that, he's a part of a generation born after His Majesty's arrival. People like himself, iNation, Bob the Builder are all in the same generation of late 30s, early 40s, really making impact right now.
Yes.
I want to contextualize the morning, my contribution in the context of constancy. The issues we're faced with really ask us to think about our nature, and I really liked how Siba talked about self-governance and getting that self in order. The competitiveness and what Last May nicely described over them fighting over Rasta in a cartoon has been there from the very foundation, even around the visit of His Majesty. When His Majesty was to arrive in 1966, he was responding directly to an invitation from Trinidad and Tobago. The Trinidad government, just after they became independent, Eric Williams took 9 members of his cabinet on a 12 African nation tour because Eric was very clear about the Pan-African solidarity and the realignment that newly independent nations needed. When His Majesty responded to that, Jamaica subsequently put in an invitation because it would have looked embarrassing if he didn't come to Jamaica. And Barbados, which was then not independent, also put in their own bid, which actually accelerated the independence process for Barbados. It continues. So he's coming to Jamaica, and then the university is feeling embarrassed because we don't invite him. And we quickly gather to say, well, everywhere he has gone, he has been given these honorary doctorates. So we have to all
and struggle. So he has a pretty good recognition of that. Sometimes he's pressured to do otherwise, but we want to make that point. Also,
people embrace this, I think.
Yes.
Even though some think we're a little overzealous because they don't really understand our collective passion,
Yes, true. Jelani, at the time when His Majesty came into Jamaica, you're talking about 1966. That's just 3 years after the Coral Gardens massacre. And if you put things in perspective, the way Rastafari, this indigenous response to all imperialism, that was viewed in the space at that time, because you're talking about the heights of colonialism. Earlier, Michael Barnett talked about legitimizing Rastafari in the way that even the act of giving the medals to the Rastafari elders. To what extent did the way the state and the people of Jamaica interacted with Rastafari, how was that impacted with the visit of His Majesty, particularly within the context of how His Majesty responded to whatever questions or conversations came up about Rastafari?
Sister, important context, because just like how the minister defended the Jamaican government on their interest in Ethiopia, particularly now, began to seriously look at themselves and look at what it is the movement represented, and seeking to itself reconcile their own actions. I want to say that, it was said beautifully by Siba that Rastafari has this basic youth attention appeal. And this is a youth movement, If you think about someone like Bob Marley, by the time he died at age 36, he's still considered a youth. in our terms
That's
today.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that the youth themselves, that rude boy, all of that. I think it was IOV who also said it. All of that generation, IOV himself as one of them, became energized by the visit, for want of a better word.
And this is why I think this is such a moment, because sometimes we mark the moments to remind ourselves and to re-energize ourselves. But this is always a moment to do that. I like what they're doing at the Haile Selassie High School, for example, like the consistency within the Rastafari community to ensure that this moment is marked, and the way that it is done with the motorcade and the activities and the full day of activities, because it really is a reminder and a remotivation, I think, for us. Jolanda, let me ask you about the we have 4 minutes, just about the tangibles that His Majesty left from the school to Shashamane during that visit.
Well, the first tangible, I think, is the realignment of regard and respect. He had to call Mortimer Planner to regain order on the tarmac. And what Mortimer Planner did was to emerge as someone who was capable of settling a multitude that was out of control. One of the newspapers described Mortimer Planner's performance on the arrival of His Majesty as Prime Minister for the day, because all other state protocols were completely thrown aside. But so the political and diplomatic regard that he kind of reinstated in Rastafari is primary. But outside of that, and this is where the work that I did to bring His Majesty and to build that relationship with His Majesty is key. For years before his arrival, members of the community had been lobbying for the arrival of the church. Michael mentioned that the church was one of the early, 4 years later, in 1970, the church came. The school was formally established in 1969 as His Majesty was Minister of Education in Ethiopia. I think it's very significant that what he leaves in the West is what they say education is the only way of really transforming yourself from one kind of disenfranchisement to empowerment. And he gives us that insight.
Yes.
He reminds us about organization, and Siba, House of Siba, is also reminding us this morning about that. I liked the various checks and balances that house has given us as solutions to our day-to-day challenges, whether it is how to generate economy or how to manage that economy and what we say we're putting out.
Yes.
So the organized, centralized becomes a kind of rhetorical, repeated command left by His Majesty. And that's something people say we lack, but we're variously organized. I want House of Siba and our listeners to also understand that what we see in the Bob Marley Museum, what we see in Peter Tosh's legacy, what we see in House of Siba, what we see from examples like Brother Miguel and Ras Aimo, etc., is the importance of the family unit as an important
critical
sustenance and economic unit.
Yes.
That's a model.
Well said.
That we don't recognize, and building that strong family that shows self-governance and integrity and discipline.
Yes.
Issues with ganja. I love. I just closing. Someone came to one of the camps I was at and wanted to buy some herb oil and was very afraid that it would drive her crazy. And I said to her, just put a little on your handbag and lick it. Something that is not a major dose. But I say one of the things we don't recognize is that within our community, we use herb, even when it seems casual. The person who holds the chalice or a spliff usually prays or issues a kind of intentionality, which is what I heard Rasiba reminding.
Yeah, remind the conscious use. Conscious, yeah. Jolanda, I want to pick up the conversation with you.
Sister, beautiful morning. I'm
Thank you
glad
so
to have
much.
given voice to this. Yes.
And thank you so much for your patience, my brother.
Yeah, man.
All right, drive safely. All right, we're inside of the last second or so. I carried my drum, Peter, remember tell somebody carried a drum because Big A is a percussionist. And here's a drum. Yeah, you used to be. So I'm allowing you to put little, let me bless your hand first. because a sacred drum. And you can give us a little bit of what you recall. Peter, and you know, Big A, do you remember to? Can you? Yes, yeah, you're later than usual. Peter, I know you don't. I know Big A is a percussionist. You're not, neither am I, but he is. And here's our drum just sitting there waiting for Big A to seal the reasoning. And I've become never asked you before, don't I? Yeah. You know, one of the things I want to do just before I go, which is we haven't said all morning because we know we weren't able to do a proper tribute to our uncle Ernie Smith, who was transcended. But we'll definitely be doing that in this space. This is a program that he never missed. This is a program that he participated in fully and was also a mentor through the years, also a very good friend of Mr. Big A. He was a good friend of us here at IRFME, Big A, from the early days, and even before for some people. But for us, because remember when we did that theme, my theme for this program was Sunday morning coming down, remember? I wake up Sunday morning with no place to... And Bob Clark did regularize it. And I called him to say, Bob has regularized your song. Are you okay with it? And he said, oh, I know, and I'm pleased, I'm humbled, all of that. But over the years, he's been such an integral part of IRFM that, he became, for many of us, brother, father. And for me, we call him uncle. He was exactly that. The first time, Lakin Samaj had a massive celebration for Jimi Hendrix. I went with Uncle Ernie, Uncle Ernie and JJ, his wife at the time. We got on in the valley to the big Jimi Hendrix, and we dress in a way, proper Jimi Hendrix outfit too. Yeah, man. What do they call it again? What the place name again? Anyway, Woodstock. Woodstock style. That was Lakin Samaj, Woodstock at the time. But more than that, and I know you're going to do a tribute to Uncle Ernie in the week, right? When? Tomorrow. So listen to Big A, because he'll be doing a tribute all of Monday, 2 to 5:45. First hour is certainly going to be there. Oh, first hour is not to the whole of the program? It depends on how. Certainly the first hour. So definitely 2 to 3 is tomorrow on Big A's program. It will be a tribute to Uncle Ernest Smith. And then next week, we will do our own personal tribute here. The good thing about it is that we know that he understands how we at IRFM feel about him and felt about him, because we're always paying tribute to Uncle Ernie. To his family, our deepest condolences, our sympathies. I know, I see you, and I hear the outpouring of grief to my sister, Rosalie Hamilton. I know how you must be feeling at this time, my sister, so our deepest condolences to you too, and to the extended family. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for being a part of the Africa Forum this morning as we make way for the Big A inside of the Sunday Sunshine. I'm Kabul, Peter Broadborough, Antoinette Brown, and Shanice, part of the team this morning. We'll see you next week.